Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to ELO Heaven. I'm your host, Pronogo. Joining me, my co-host, Vu, a man who can take on as many 8-year-olds as you can fathom. And of course, joining us as the guest for this particular ill-fated episode is the official Bleh. How you doing?
I'm doing great. I do want to know a little bit more about Vu beating up 8-year-olds. I think that is something I would pay money. I would pay money to watch that. I really would. You can stream that on Twitch. I think that could be the next big thing happening here in esports. That'd be great. Although I guess it wouldn't count as esports, but fuck it. Let's do it.
Let's do it. Let's do it, Vu. Beat up some 8-year-olds.
Man, I just think it's crazy. People are trying to tell me I could only take on 3 8-year-olds. Like, buddy, excuse me. I could take on at least 10. We were discussing the shock and awe tactic, right? You take out one, and my opinion, 75% of the rest of them are deserting. They're not keeping up the fight. They're out. They're outie 5,000.
The only fear I have is if I end up like trying to sneak attack one of them, right? And I hit them in their back pocket, and they've got a Ridge wallet, and my hand is busted from punching metal. Oh, jeez.
An 8-year-old with a Ridge wallet. Okay.
Dude, listen, they smart. They watch
Ridge wallets are expensive, man. Like this thing, their carbon whatever Ridge wallet, ridge.com/vu, is it's like $200, dude. Like
it's 2 minutes in, dude. 2 minutes in before
I'm actually using it though. I'm actually using it. It's actually pretty good. The problem though is like it's not big enough for my money, but it's tiny. I'm afraid I'm gonna lose it.
The fat stacks you're carrying around, is that the problem?
I'm afraid I'm gonna lose it. That's why I wasn't using it initially, because it's so small. I'm just gonna fucking lose it.
Sounds very convenient for the culture that is around
Ridge.com/vu.
Ridge.com/vu. There you go.
Or Vu CSGO.
We still haven't figured it out since the last episode. So once again, just try anything.
I think it might be Vu CSGO. Fuck, I don't know.
You can just Google it.
Just search it up.
Let's find out. What is it?
This is probably the best intro of all time. I will say that much. So while we find out,
CSGO works.
Wallets, fuck yeah, there we go.
Absolutely, 8-year-olds in Ridge wallets. So if we were going to go into some actual, somewhat CS related stuff, there's a bunch of news. There's a bunch of some stuff from HLTV's rankings. Of course, they've been dropping the top 20 so far in reverse order. We've got number 20 through number 17. That's Breeze, JKS, K Serato, and Crims. Number 16 might drop in the middle of this show, at which point we might talk about it. We might not. Otherwise, yeah, that's pretty much it. So I guess since you're coming on here, Bleh, for us, wanted to ask you your opinion so far on these rankings. If anything sticks out to you from these bottom 4 of the top 20, anything seemed weird? Anybody you thought was going to be there? I'm not sure how heavily you were shadowboxing all that stuff, but curious to hear your take on HLTV's top 20 so far.
I usually don't really, try and shadowbox it. I just kind of like wait and see how it plays out. Although, I'm a little disappointed that the meme is over. Like you're not having any EU player in the top 20, with Crims coming in. I was enjoying that. You had Breeze, you have JKS, you have K Serato, not a single EU player, but then
EUCS was dead. Yeah, you're right.
It was dead for a bit, but they spoiled it with Crims coming in. No surprises. I would obviously want to see like how the top, at least from top 10 to top 20 kind of like fills out, and then you can probably like compare a few players here and there. But I'm not too surprised here. Like Crims makes sense. Like Fnatic, they haven't been playing at the level I personally would like to see them play, but they've had their great times. They had their moments throughout the year, right? And Crims has absolutely been a pillar for the team, so to speak. Always a solid player to rely on. K Serato, I maybe would have expected him to be a little bit higher, but then again, if you really go into the top 7, 8 teams, you look at the players they have, I think it kind of plays out. It kind of makes sense. But just on the top of my head, I was like, yeah, K Serato should probably be maybe 16, 15 perhaps. But yeah, that's just me not really paying attention like how the HLTV guys have. JKS and Breeze, I think yeah, they do kind of belong there. But like I said, I want to see like the top 10 to top 20, and then I can be like, all right, maybe this guy deserves to be a little bit above. But yeah, the HLTV guys, they do a very good job explaining why they pick these players. So most of the times I do tend to agree with them.
And particularly as you reach the bottom echelon anyway, it's kind of easy to make justifications for, there's a lot of players that would be closer to that like between 25 and 15, maybe something in that range. So yeah, the explanations can sort of sway you one way or another. It's almost down to personal preference. Some people would say the same thing about the Simple versus Ziwu thing. It's like really depends on what you value and really depends on your argumentation. So I expect something similar when we get to all the way to the number 1 and number 2. Vu, how do you feel about the first VAC banned player ever being in the top 20. How does that make you feel?
I'm pretty sure the VAC ban got removed. Oh, I thought you were. I knew you were talking about Crims, and then I thought you might have been talking about VSM. I was like, wait, hold on. Did VSM get in here?
Yeah, that wasn't it.
I'm
no.
pretty sure the VAC ban on Crims got removed. I think
I would
that's
imagine
permanent.
yes.
I think we're safe. I'm 100% sure, without any insider knowledge, I'm 100% sure that someone on HLTV's top 20 in the past has had at least one VAC ban account. In fact, I would bet money that there's like 3 or 4 or 5 people or more on that list that have had a VAC banned account.
Okay, like in CSGO or like 1.6?
CS Source or 1.6 most likely. Like
Most
maybe
likely,
maybe Go. That's a little bit more iffy. I wouldn't say I'm 100% sure about that one.
Okay. That's a bold prediction. We'll see how it plays out, I suppose. Maybe there will be more than one though. That's what I'm saying. Is like I'm sure somebody on Vax Sucks is talking shit about Crims being number 17. You know, you have to wonder.
Oh, for sure. Like Vu just opened up like pretty big can of worms right there. Good job, Vu.
I'm sure VSM will get on the list like next year. Maybe he might get on the list. I'd say there's a pretty good shot for him to get on the list next year if MIBR keep it up.
If they keep it up, is there any like certainty if like MIBR are going to be sticking with this lineup though? I know, I mean, like they obviously like surprised all of us with the way they played, but there's no like official word or like anything.
Yeah, because there's still trials, right?
Yeah,
they were assembled for Flashpoint essentially. Yeah.
Yeah, just give it a shot. Like, give it a few months, see how it plays out. Honestly, why do you want to switch up a winning formula? It's kind of one of those, you're really drunk and you're trying to make like a brand new dish and you have no idea how it's going to work out. But you have it and you're like, holy shit, this tastes fucking amazing. You wake up the next morning, you're sober as hell. You have it again, and you're like, this is really good. You know, why do you want to fuck that up? It's magical. So I would love to see them kind of try it out for at least a few months here. But CS is a wild place. I don't know. They might just.
I'm not sure how relatable cooking analogies are for like the CS.
It's about how you have happy accents, right? It's kind of like a Bob Ross of cooking, I guess. I don't know where I'm going with this, dude.
What would VSM be as far as ingredients go? Because you've got like the other 4 players, but then you've got this like banned ingredient that's like not
VSM is a bay leaf, man. He's a fucking bay leaf. You put that shit in there, right? It makes it taste better, but then it like you get a bite of it, and you're like, what the fuck is this?
Is there any food item that's like illegal? Oh, he could be like a Kinder Egg in America, I guess. Although, why would anyone cook with a Kinder Egg? I have no idea. I can't think of a food item that's actually banned.
Ground Cuban cigars? I don't know. There's nothing really.
Maybe like bats.
Oh, bats. That's her good shout, yeah.
Topical
and good shout, yeah. It'd have to be like cooking with poppy or something, you know what I mean? Like cooking with some sort of opiate related thing. It's like, in certain quantities.
Endangered species like bald eagle,
There you go. Is VSM a bald eagle? Better than a bald fraud, so we'll leave it.
It could be a condor. Like in South America, condors are famous. They're endangered as well. So there we go.
Okay,
he is the condor of Counter-Strike.
The condor of Counter-Strike. I don't mind it. It could be his name. We'll see if we can pull that one. So there you go.
The one thing about this top 20 that I think's a bit telling is Breezy being 20th. I think last year, what was he, 8th or 9th or something along those lines? I think he was
much higher, yeah.
Yeah, and EG really relied on Breezy. The one thing I hated about EG in 2019 is it just felt like a lot of it was the Breezy show. It would be like, all right, we're going to, on Inferno CT side, it's like, all right, we're going to triple B and Breezy's going to hold A. Like, that's really it, So if Breezy's not like on top of the world, I think they did change a few things since they brought in Zeus, but, I think it is telling that he's 20th and they weren't in the top 10. Like, this makes sense together.
He was unplayable at times, I remember, right? But when he fell off, it's like, I agree with you. Like EG, I wouldn't say they looked lost, but they weren't what they were when he kind of dropped off. And I feel like, I don't know when it happened. Was it with the Krieg nerf or something? I can't really place it, but like something happened there for Breeze. He's still a fantastic player, still have his moments, but yeah, like 2019 when they had that streak of tournaments where they're just winning almost everything, it looked like, yeah, he was almost unplayable at times.
Interesting to see how far he's fallen, because then you have to ask yourself, like, how
it's
much
still top 20.
Yes, still top 20, just barely, by the skin of his teeth. But you have to wonder, like, how much of that is due to individual success or lack of team success. You know what I mean? Like when you look at Breezy's POV, it does seem like he's still money in a lot of cases. Obviously, recently there was a Nard Out Here video where I was watching him break down a CT hold from a couple of different demos for Breezy on EG. And that was a case where it's like you can clearly see this guy knows what he's doing. He's drilled, he's practiced, and he puts himself into positions that doesn't necessarily require that you have a lot of aim, at least from the examples that I was able to glean from that video. So it's one of those cases where it seems like he's settled in from the North American aim star trope into a more veteran player who maybe still has the aim and can still show that off, but doesn't rely on it nearly as much, which definitely makes him more, I think, desirable if I'm trying to build a team born of NA players. That's something that I would be on the lookout for, that kind of quality in somebody like that. So I guess moving on from the topic of HLTV top 20 in general, something that this brings to mind for me is the idea of that kind of improvement year on year, not just of individual players, but overall as the meta gets more developed and pushed into certain directions, depending on when in the past there were map pool changes, but obviously now it's mostly the same stuff. I'm curious as to your guys' take on how much better you have to be in 2020 at the end of 2020 versus how good you have to be at the game at 2019. Like year on year, how much harder does Counter-Strike get to play at the top level? Because it does seem like it's still getting harder, but I'm not sure if we've reached that diminishing return area where there's only so much you can innovate. There's only so much you can do to make the game harder for your opponents and force them to also adapt. So Bleh, do you have any thoughts on this sort of concept? Is like how much harder CS is getting year on year?
I have to agree with you. It is getting harder, right? At top level, I agree with you. I don't think we haven't hit that ceiling, so to speak, yet. At the same time, and I know this is a discussion that's been like done to death, but online LAN CS right now, I know we've all embraced the online era, and that's great. And which is why we're seeing a lot of these players who comparative unknown players. I don't want to call them like just onliners or whatever, but they have grab the opportunity with both their hands and they're trying to show what they have here, in all these online events. They don't have to travel to LAN, and playing on LAN is a whole different beast altogether. I mean, it's an undeniable fact. And I feel like that has, I don't want to use the word artificially, but it has impacted the ceiling overall. The ceiling has definitely grown, gone above. But I do wonder, like, let's imagine the first half of 2021. Let's be real. It's still going to be a lot of online events happening. COVID is still a problem right now. If the vaccine works out or whatever, the aliens come in and save humanity, and then we finally get back to LAN in the second half of the year, I do wonder how many of these online up-and-coming stars we've been seeing, off late in the past 1 year or so, how well would they really translate when it comes to playing on LAN? I'm sure majority of them would still be able to perform, but would it be able to perform at the same level altogether? I think that's the big question over here. And I feel that is going to really determine how the skill ceiling is going to kind of like, is it going to remain a little plateaued right now? Has it been artificially boosted up a little bit because of all the online CS? Because I feel it has. We've been seeing some pretty wild, really high skill individuals stepping up this year. And while I do believe if it was on LAN, the trend would still be upwards, I have to agree that the slope is a little bit steeper than what I believe should be the case here.
I mean, it's kind of like a hyperbaric time chamber when you're online. I mean, when you look at like events, you have people complaining that they're traveling for like 2 months for events, right? And that's not like traveling where, what they're complaining about now, which is we're going to Europe, quarantining for 2 weeks, then we're staying in Europe and playing online. It's like traveling where it's like we're at an event and we play the games, and then we go to the next event and we play the games, and we go to the next event and we play the games. You're just not getting as much practice hours in that way. So you have like kind of a regression in some way, because online CS is just a lot more puggy, a lot more aggressive. You can swing out on people's Xanter as peak them as much as you want. It's going to work out pretty well. But you're also having teams that are just practicing more. And that's part of what's led to the burnout, is like they know they have to grind out practice because their opponents are grinding out shit tons of practice because they're home all the time. So everyone's like got to put in 12 hours a day. And that's kind of hurt the players, but I think it's like really up the speed of improvement. And the fact that you haven't seen just like leaps and bounds suggests that we are nearing some level where it's like it's tough to really get too far ahead, but you're still going to see improvements, of course.
I think the improvements that have been most notable as well have been like micro adjustments as opposed to more broad spectrum, like massive strategies that are completely innovative and completely new it seems more like people are making small adjustments to plays that they already see, that they've had played against them, and they adopt because it's so much easier to get film now. Obviously, this is one of your points last time we were on this show, Vu, is that it's a lot easier to just grab somebody's strat that you see and start to incorporate it because you have more tools for data mining, that sort of thing. And you obviously have a lot of the times you can see what it looks like on the receiving end if somebody is doing it to you in a scrim or somebody's doing it to you in an official match. So that, and also because I think there's more matches being played, which means more GoTV demos available, which means more opportunity for analysts and coaches and IGLs to go in and take a look at some of these, using some of these tools like Refrag, for example, that I think that's the tool that BlameF uses a lot on complexity. Yeah. So that's like a case where you see these opportunities for these more tactical adjustments. And essentially, like, I think a couple years back, if you look at the concept of anti-stratting, that felt like something you did less often than trying to play your own game and be like, especially if you think back to the SK gaming era where the Brazilians were doing all of that theory instead of doing as much practice because the practice quality wasn't as high in North America at the time. Like, that was a famous anecdote that they did like half theory, half practice or something. And that gave them a lot of a leg up on their opponents. But now I feel like that would be way less effective in general at the pro level because there's so many ways for you to get owned by somebody anti-stratting you. And in that sense, since you can just get downloaded in that way a lot easier now, that probably has a big effect on what teams are capable of it. So I think you're probably seeing, if we look at like the HLTV world ranking, for example, right? I think that's probably, like, obviously Astralis is loving that. They've got the infrastructure necessary to make something like that work. Vitality clearly has some sort of infrastructure going in with Xtaz, who seems to, maybe, I don't know how heavily involved he is in the middle of the match, but he definitely seems to be able to instill some sort of sense of, like, you know, power. So I think it's reflecting in the rankings, the teams that have that agency and this infrastructure to support that sort of thing, and they have the inclination to go in for a more tactical, like, downloading the opponent style. And obviously the popularization of team analysts as well. I think that's kind of reflecting in the ranking. What do you guys think overall?
I have to agree with that. I also want to add on to, I forgot who it was. There was an interview on HLTV. Okay, I can't really place the name, where he mentioned, and this is like a known thing, where because of the density of the games happening right now online, it's not just about, you know, people, your opponents having a lot of data to work with. It's just that you have no time to fucking adapt. You have no time to really improve. You literally just were playing on the fly. And even with a big support system, like you mentioned, like a Vitality, like an Astralis or whatnot, how much time do you really have to fucking assimilate that and be ready for your next opponents, right? So there's a difference between having it in theory and really putting into practice. And like, look at the last couple of months. There were literally like 3-4 tier 1 events happening simultaneously. And you can see, like, the moment it ends, the next one comes in. It's just nonstop. It was hectic as a viewer, as talent or whatever, just watching, observing, talking about the game. And for some of these teams, it's like, where do you really have the time to even, like, breathe, forget?
So you think there's, like, less improvement this year than there was last year? I would say the opposite.
I feel like there's good adaptability, and I feel like that they have done a very good job with working what they have. But okay, to take an example, I would love to see something akin to the way Astralis, like, exploded. Like, you know what I mean? Astralis, like, when they became that unplayable team altogether, right? Like, that was something special to watch. You see how big once they came into this lineup, when they started performing early this year. I think it was at Leipzig, for example, the way they played. Like, you could see certain styles of certain teams being dominant for maybe a short period of time, maybe in a particular region. I don't feel like it's been the case over here. It's been a case of, like I mentioned, micro adjustments. It's been a case of some good anti-stratting, some good set strats coming in, but no overall, like, macro based changes or improvements. I feel like it's just been the smaller things, which is great. Don't get me wrong. It's an important aspect of Counter-Strike overall, but I feel like we haven't had the opportunity to see something kind of grow in isolation. I think that's been lacking because of just the sheer number of games that's been happening.
I think it's tough to say. I feel like there's definitely been plenty of time for teams to improve and kind of adapt to the meta. I think you might have a point that it's like there's just so many games that nobody's kind of gone into gone into the chamber, I guess, and come out with a new, like, take on the way the meta should be done. I think that's definitely something that might be a little bit lacking, where what happens, I think, when you have a lot of tournaments is you go to a string of tournaments and you play the same style. You basically run the same strats, maybe a few different strats, but you're basically playing the same shit. And then you come out from those and you've got a bit of a break and you try and reinvent as much as you can. And then you go back, right? And so you have these kind of more linear breaks. Whereas like this year, you had more time to practice, I guess. Like technically you had more games to practice, but in reality, you're always practicing for an event. So it's like, do you have a week to really reinvent your play style? Not really. You're just kind of slowly molding and picking up anything like, oh, Big's good this week. Like, let's look at what they're doing. Let's just steal that, right? Like, you know, I definitely think there's a point to be had there, yeah.
I mean, like even if you look at, I think a good example is during the summer player break, right? I think it was famously Blame F, where he's like, yeah, I spent the entire like player break watching a fuck ton of demos, and you could see complexity looked pretty cool when they came out of that break. They had something different, something really cool. But then after that, it was like non-stop events, and they just kind of like plateaued out, so to speak, right? And that's what I want to see more of. I want to see a little bit of break for some of these top tier teams, like how it was back in 2019 and 2018, where they disappear for a while, like you mentioned, Vu, like in a chamber, and they come back out and just blow our minds. I think that for me is the best of Counter-Strike, and I feel that element has been missing this year.
There has definitely been, I feel like, a less of like a definitive style, because as you get all of these teams sort of taking some from option A, some from option B, oh, Big's good, we'll take some of them. You miss out a little bit more on the teams that really blow you away and redefine how you conceptualize that team when you think of them playing Counter-Strike, right? Or how you even think about a specific take. So there might be like small strats that Big uses in a game that they look good in, but it's hard to trace back the origin, and maybe it doesn't even necessarily exemplify a strat. Like, it's not a strat that really specifically is tailored to Big necessarily, as much as it is a strat that works against teams in general, right? So it's like, it's overall, it's setting a bar, but it's not necessarily tailored to Xantares specifically or Searson specifically. It's more like, can your players play these slots, slot into this strategy at a reasonable rate, like to a reasonable degree of skill and execution? Like, if so, you're good. You can use this strat. And so it's more generalized and less, individually unique, which I suppose makes sense.
I do want to give like one shout out and kudos to Furia though, because this year was something. Like watching them, like watching everyone else, and then watching them, and then they came to they came to EU. A little bit of a stumble initially, right? But they're able to like recover. It was fun. It was refreshing. It was entertaining to watch their play styles. I got to give them credit for that. Like, despite the fact that we had the COVID, they were stuck in NA playing with a smaller pool of teams and whatnot. I feel they were able to innovate and try some really cool things. I'm not just talking about gimmicky stuff, but some really innovative overall like approach to certain maps, for example, which I truly enjoyed, and I felt like it was lacking overall when it comes to a lot of the other teams.
I think FURIA as a team, like, they're just so beneficial to have in the scene. I feel like they have such a unique take on everything that it's like, I feel like they make every other team that they play with and against better, because they can pick up certain things from FURIA. I think every team should be adopting certain things from FURIA where they really like push the limit of a timing you can catch on someone. And a lot of teams, it's just like, unless they have that one player doing it, unless they have a Stewie doing it, it's just like, we are a slow, methodical team, except for when we do a full rush. Like, you really like it's pretty important to be pushing the envelope of like, okay, so they can be, in CT spawn 30 seconds in. We have to worry about that, right? I think teams should be, I feel like teams just write off FURIA. Even pro teams seem like they don't adopt enough from FURIA in my mind.
Well, you guys are shouting out FURIA. It seems the CSPPA agrees with you, though, because they're
I don't know if I agree with that.
Their team making release. They're number 3 in the world for
I don't know
CSPPA.
if I agree with that. Yeah? Number 3 in the world is a little bit much.
Seems perfectly fine, It's fine.
Look, here's the thing. These rankings, I took a look at it like when it came out, and I won't lie, it's much better than what they had earlier. It makes sense how you have Vitality, Astralis up there, Big, Heroic, Navi, in the top 7, 8. It to me, like, if I just look at it, just based on the top of my head, this looks very reasonable. Although FURIA top 3, yeah, no, I don't agree with that. Top 10, for sure. I feel like they deserve that. They've done whatever opportunities have presented themselves to them. They have managed to kind of like snap onto it. So But that aside, and ignoring like below the top 20 where it just doesn't really make much sense, I feel like this is a pretty good ranking overall. CSPPA, doing a pretty decent job despite some of the fuckery that's happened in the past.
Do you think that it's good that we get a second opinion on what the top 10 or 20 or however many teams really are? Like, we've seen the top 10 teams list of 2020 from HLTV, then we see HLTV's world ranking. And if we compare and contrast that to the CSPPA one, we can see some differences. We can start to try to infer what the decision making.
Hey, hold up. All
right.
We've always had a Gosu Gamers ranking. That's never gone anywhere.
There wasn't it?
we have always had a second take.
Hold on. There is one big difference, and I could be wrong here, but obviously the HLTV top 20 teams, top 10 teams of 2020 is basically for the entire year of 2020. And if I'm not mistaken, the CSPPA rankings is a rolling window.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know how many months that is or how many weeks, but I think that's gonna play a major factor. Maybe that's why FURIA is way up there. But even then, I don't know. I could be wrong here. Just taking a look.
Yeah,
well,
I don't know.
Looking
at FURIA's
for top 10 or whatever, like they have their team ranking that they published, I think yesterday or earlier today or something to that effect. And in that case, like the first obvious difference is Astralis and Vitality are swapped. So Astralis number 1, Vitality number 2 at HLTV. CSPPA says the inverse is true. That would be like the first thing that leaps.
Yeah.
off
So HLTV has FURIA at 6th and Navi at 3rd. Big and Heroic 4th and 5th still. Yeah, I mean, there's just similar ranks.
Yeah, it's 9 months.
All right.
Mm-hmm. 36 weeks. Weird number.
9 months worth of data being put into the CSPPA ranking.
Mm-hmm. It's a rolling window.
That's a lot. That is a lot. Like, that is a ton. I think, what is it? Thorin does 3 months static, straight up. Yeah. I think like somewhere between 3 and 5 months is relevant for a current ranking. Like 9 months ago, it's like the major cycle all over again. Like, if you do well in the last major, it doesn't mean you're going to be good for the next major. But you're into it, right? Especially if you only have 2 majors a year or something. 9 months is a lot, man. That kind of, I guess that means that explains why FURIA is 3rd, because they did pretty well in NA, I think, initially.
Yeah.
And then I think they had a few losses near the end, or did they start winning near the end? I can't remember if I got. It was backwards.
Both. They kind of fell flat as the initial games of their European tenure wore on, but after that they were able to come back. So
when they first showed up to Europe, I feel like this is such an easy prediction, and everyone's like, "Oh my god, I can't believe these teams from NA went to Europe and they sucked. They were so bad." I don't know. I'm almost at the point where like I've seen this fucking deja vu so many times that it's like, why even count the first 2 tournaments? Let's just give them a write-off for the first 2 tournaments. Doesn't affect their ranking, because it always happens, man. Every single fucking time. NA team, they go to NA, they suck, like they're whatever, the best in NA. NA practice fucking blows. And then they go to Europe and they're like, oh shit, teams can actually play the game. Like, give us a month, and then they're fine again. It's like, it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous.
Kind of sucks for EG though, because obviously they went over, they sucked. Then they were like, oh, fuck this, we're going back home. So
yeah, they got fucked by that.
They pulled off a Tyloo, basically. They qualify for an event, go to EU, get fucked, learn nothing, go back. Hopefully they don't pull off a repeat Tyloo where they come back and they still get fucked. Hopefully they improve and they get better. Hopefully.
Well, we're all hoping for Lance to come back. Apparently Katowice this year is supposed to be one of those events that is just like it was this past year. It's supposed to be played without a crowd. So
I don't know, man. Like, I'm just like keeping tabs on what's happening around the world. It's still in the shitter, if you ask me. So,
I don't know. Every event, man, wants to be like, this is going to be the first LAN, boys. We got the first LAN event.
Hype behind the first CSGO LAN event. Everyone be watching.
For a while, it was supposed to be the major too. The first LAN event was going to be a major. Like, that first game is going to pop off, but still not.
I think ESL especially is just like, so this event's going to be a LAN. Nah, it's online. No, this event's going to be a LAN. Nah, it's online.
The global challenge.
No, this next one is on. It's a LAN.
Listen, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice. Well, we all know how that one ends. I feel like the biggest issue with like the ESL stuff going in, like constantly trying to leverage their market dominance, we'll say, in the space of having all of the tournaments, they have more chances to eventually hold a LAN. It just doesn't seem to be happening for them. So what do you guys think about the fact that teams are now starting to prep in the midst of their player break? This is something that I actually didn't have a link down in the show notes, but
it happens, man.
It happens, dude. You want to be the best, you gotta fucking slog it out, because someone out there is cracking.
Yeah.
You're on vacation, you're having fun.
I talked about this. I mentioned this last time, where it's like every team, the problem with every team is not that they're cheaters, is that they think every other team is cheaters, so they want to cheat. Right? It's the same thing with practice. It's not that every team is practicing. It's that at least one team is. And then you get in your mind, like, every team is practicing. They're all doing it. And then you have to practice. And then because you are practicing, everyone has to practice. And it becomes this cycle where, like, if you allow teams to practice, everyone has to practice. Like, it just immediately goes into that spiral. But honestly, man, it happens. I don't think there's any way around it. And especially when you look into it, a lot of teams didn't even end the player break right at the player, or like start the player break right at the start player break. Right at the start of the player break. I think Vitality got off on like the 12th or something. Like their last event was like the 14th. Or last game was like the 14th, maybe, right? And they went for, however long. I think that's pretty reasonable. You just have the outlier cases where it's like they played on the last day before and they play on the first day after, and that kind of sucks.
I vaguely recall at the 2020 player break, or the continuation of it from December 2019 into 2020. I think Yanko was tweeting that people who observe Christmas in January, there's like some more obscure Christian belief set that does that. So
isn't in Russia they do January 3rd or something as Christmas? I've heard
it was something like that. But the fact that the player break ended earlier meant that he couldn't even do that with his family, and he had to be back in the boot camp, so to speak. So it seems like they've changed that up, because we're already past that point at this point in January, and no sign of that happening. But definitely seems odd. Like, I know the player break, it feels like it's been a long time since the last CS game, but I also feel like we're getting like that highway lag. You come off the highway after driving, and you're like driving the speed limit. It's like, what the fuck? Why is everything so slow? But that's what's happened with CS tournaments, where it was literal whiplash. We're going from event to event nonstop, honestly, 3 weeks long. And
like, if you go back like the past couple of years, and then you open up HLTV, and like right now you click on HLTV, and it's like, it says no matches, right?
Yeah.
Last year, I remember, even the year prior to that, it's like, you would have that appear for maybe 2 days, and then boom, we have like matches coming up. I feel like this might be the longest time I've seen where there are no games happening whatsoever. No tier 3, no tier 2 tournaments being featured whatsoever. And I don't know why. It could also be the sheer exhaustion with the shit ton of events that happened this year. But I feel it was very needed. I know it feels weird we're going to having any big events for a while right now, but I feel it was a much needed break, not just for the players, but for the viewers as well, man. It was I'm working this event, but even I was like, Jesus, everything's just melding into one. So I feel it was a much needed break.
The online era has been the hardest era to give a fuck about, like, at all. It's really just like every game, it's like, oh, Liquid played whoever again. Like, Vitality played Astralis 3 times in like a week and a half or something. It's just like, who cares, man?
Well, and it goes from celebrating a team, like, you're like, oh, heroic, like, what a fucking run, amazing. Immediately the next couple of days, oh, Vitality, the best in the world. Then Astralis comes in and just beats everyone up. Astralis, the kings are back. I'm like, I'm getting fucking whiplash.
Well, listen, man. For the heroic one, okay? It's not that there was an event the next day. It was that there was an event the next day, the event of banning Hunton. It was like, hey, heroic won. Oh, heroic's done. Like, see ya.
That was pretty impressive. Not only did they have to deal with that, but then Nicola Nyholm was like, boxing ring is my new studio here, studio office. Boxing from home. Let's go, boys. Come on down. So that also happened.
I felt so bad for the heroic players. Imagine you win such a massive event, it was super hyped. Next day you wake up, check HLTV, Hunden banned for cheating, and like, you've obviously the first thought is like, wait, was he cheating in fucking Cologne, bro? That was rough.
Rough, man.
Very rough, yeah. But I will tell you something. I feel like when you have to consider the fact that the org still didn't even drop him, like, I don't know about you guys, but if I'm playing, and again, this is super like shadow boxing. You got to assume that I'm good at the game, which is a big assumption. But if I'm playing as a professional player and my coach cheats and gets banned for cheating, and that may have impacted my legacy as a player, like having won an event or something, right? Like you can't take it as seriously anymore. And my org just is like, oh, move to the analyst position. Like, no, what the fuck? Get this guy out of here. Like, that's my thought process. I don't know if
I wouldn't think that's just the org. I think if the players wanted him gone, he'd be gone. I think the players trust him as like a coach, and they wanted to keep him around. I wouldn't. That's my guess.
It's also no. Go on. Finish your thought.
I was just thinking like. I don't know. I feel like we tend to think the players have more moral compass than they do. I think if he was like outright super like hacking, like if he had wall hacks on, they'd be a little bit more. But when there's that gray area, I think there's a tendency to just be like, I know this guy, I'm gonna give him the benefit of the doubt. We're gonna keep him, you know.
I guess it's also fair to say, like, players obviously don't have the same moral compass that we're attributing to them in this kind of shadowboxing environment where we have this mental exercise of like, what would a morally right player do? But they're letting him talk in the middle of an entire tournament, which obviously is not actually, again, like that's just the only reason that's allowed. Like people have completely missed that. I feel like people are just like, yeah, sure, coaches can talk now because it's just not enforceable to do otherwise. Whereas like that's, I actually think that should be the way that things are. I think the coach should be able to talk during all of the game time. It doesn't matter to me. But if you're going to say that you can't do that when we can enforce it, then it's sort of like the ESA extreme sniping thing. Like, oh, okay, I guess it's just too widespread for us to give a shit about. So like, we can't take any action here. So just keep doing it. So like, I guess in that sense, it's more of a low level. Like they probably don't think about it just because like Vu says in the last episode, they think everybody's doing it. So they got to get in on the action too. But that also kind of rubs me the wrong way. Like, why are you guys allowing this? So that's almost like, you know, salt in the wound sort of thing when they just keep the guy on in an analyst position.
I agree. I gotta say though, like just to like finish my thought there,
Sure.
like when it comes to like we tend to forget, right? Like again, like I'm not justifying this. I personally feel they should be removed by the org, but for the players, I can also see how like imagine like you have a friend, right, and your friend gets caught for like stealing something, right, and you're like, it's not a big deal. You didn't like stab someone, or in CS, you didn't go fucking spin botting, right? And you forget the human dynamics when it comes to these, and I feel like it is different. It's a hard call to make. You're friends with these guys. Some of them are you're pretty close friends with. You trust them. They're good people. And I'm not saying they're like bad human beings. They fucked up here. Absolutely. Should be punished for it, but I don't think they're necessarily bad human beings apart from fucking Zoner. Fuck that guy.
Sure.
But apart from that, I feel like it shouldn't be in the hands of the players. And I completely understand the dilemma they're going to be facing here, the moral and emotional dilemma they have. But as an org owner or a CEO, what the fuck are you doing, right? You got to tell the players, like, listen, we're going to take the decision off your hands. We know it's a rough one, but we're going to be the cops here. We're going to kick him out. And they need to do that. They need to face their punishment. So everyone has been tweeting about it, Yanko especially. As a coach, I can completely identify and like completely understand and agree with his sentiments because he's fucking pissed off at how all these guys got off with just a slap on the wrists. And I feel like everyone should get it. Like I like how a couple of them, I think Regin, for example, stepped down on his own. Good job. Congratulations on doing that, you know. But I feel like that shouldn't necessarily be the trend where you wait for them to step down. No, fucking kick them out temporarily.
It's
like
the same thing with forfeits, right? Like it shouldn't be in the team's hands whether or not you give a team a forfeit or you take the win. It's never a good thing. You know, the players shouldn't be in control of that. It should be the org trying to control that because the players they're in too deep and they're trying to keep, or however the song goes. I don't know, man. You know, they're in too deep to make a rational decision. They're friends with the guy. They trust him. They might not like the next coach, so on. You know, so they're gonna want to keep them around if they can. If they didn't do anything irredeemable, and like the Zoner situation, wouldn't be surprised if the team wanted him gone because they probably lost a lot out of that, right? But like, you know, one tournament, one game. I think most players are gonna give them the benefit of the doubt in that type of situation.
I think the CIS is a different beast in that particular respect. I think like, it was Hard Legion that was the org.
I also don't think it's just Zoner, by the way. Like, just everyone's piling the blame on Zoner. 3 coaches for Hard Legion use the same shit. There's no fucking way. You can fucking try and pull the wool over my eyes all you want. Can't piss in my pocket and tell me it's raining. There's no fucking way. Those coaches weren't told by someone else, by someone in the org, a team member, a fucking the CEO, who the fuck knows. There's no fucking way. I just don't believe it. You can't fucking shit. You can't shit me like that, man.
Can't piss in my pocket. I'm protecting it with Ridge Wallet.
CSGO.
Yes. Ridge Wallet.
I'm gonna plug for you, man. Give me a cut of that. Anyway.
So yeah, I mean, looking at this, if we go back a little bit to the point we were initially talking about, which was the whiplash of #1 teams, I think Fnatic was #1 for a day. Like that was pretty cool for them.
Fnatic era 2020. Fuck yeah, let's go.
Yeah. There was all those good Twitch chat copy paste. It was something it was like heroic era 1 week, Fnatic era 1 day, CN9 era 1 round or something because they won the pistol and then got shat on in Inferno. So that was pretty good. Like they had some good ones. You know, the wisdom of mouse.
For sure. We had some really good memes this year, though, from all the coaching drama and everything, you know, with a Valorant crossover, with a Cypher and shit. Some good stuff, man.
Well, you would have thought that they were playing a different game. I mean, come on. One of the things I want to talk about as well is like, I feel like, well, I guess I'll just throw this question openly. Are there teams that you feel like didn't get enough credit for what they did in the year of 2020 based on the fact that they...
EG.
Okay, we got EG here.
Well, I mean, like, they're not even in the top 10. Everyone's going to forget they had, like, what? Like a 4-tournament run where they, like, didn't even drop a map or something? Or they did some crazy shit. Like, they did some bonkers shit. And it's just, like, they just didn't have the consistency to like be in the top 10, and I'm not going to fault, you know, them not being in the top 10 on anyone. But I think they're just going to get written off. People are just going to forget that happened.
I feel like that might result in actual roster moves too. I mean, NA's instability has been a meme unto itself to the point where it's probably not even really a meme at this point, obviously. But like that's been something that's probably in the back of a lot of the players and support staff's mind. And you have to wonder if there's going to be something like they picked up Zeus. It was earlier in 2020, wasn't it? It was that was a 2020 roster move where people had said like, let's take a look at let's just take a look at the fact that we have Zeus coming in and he's going to try to right the ship because EG was going downhill for a while up until that point. And that was also a move mired in, potential missed opportunities because like that was a case where we had Stanislaw, who had famously not had a great term with Zeus, back and forth. So that was a case where like people didn't know what to expect. And then they were able to have that strong uptick of form. And people, I mean, myself included, kind of just skipped over that and like forgot about that. So that's a fair shout. You got anything, Bleh?
Nah, not really, honestly. Like, I have to just agree with you guys. Can't really... Changes... I feel the changes are due. Well, for me, like, I just want to, like, know what the changes are going to be. That's what I'm interested in. I feel changes should be happening here, but I think you guys just touch on anything I wanted to talk about there.
All right.
Anyone else is going to be written off. I mean, like, I think any Flashpoint winner, like, who even won both Flashpoints? Mad Lions won one and VP won the other, right?
Yeah.
Like, I think they're just going to get immediately written off. But I don't think that's a 2020 problem. I think that's a totally different problem entirely. And I just, like, got to imagine the situation Thorin's in, watching all of the decent Flashpoint teams just fucking implode. Like, Envy's a fucking joke. You got Genji just letting their team do whatever. Fucking Mad Lions had a really good roster, and then they let a couple players go. Like, what? I mean, MIBR is the only team that did anything. And in theory, like, that shouldn't have been a huge upgrade. Like, they didn't even want to remove everyone, I think. They wanted to remove just Fur, right? I think,
and then a bunch of teams went on, our players went on strike.
Yeah, and it like that ended up being good, right? It ended up being a positive, but in reality, like for all intents and purposes, that could have been a huge shit show. And then you just have like 5 teams that just destroy themselves. Like, what the fuck?
It was a happy accident.
Yeah, it's exactly what it was. Like, that is that to a T.
Just before we move on from the topic at hand, I did want to mention, Vu just posted in the chat, the top 16 player of 2020, and that is indeed Henny. So it has indeed gone on. It has dropped in the middle of the show. Do you guys have any response to this? Is this going to be a long discussion for Henny? I feel like he's another player people may have slept on, but,
I felt like if K-Sorada was going to be in the top 20, Henny had to be above him. I felt like Henny's like impact this year has been phenomenal. I feel like he really kind of came into his own this year overall. Huge impact overall in the team. Also feel I don't know if he does any co-calling with Art. I'm not sure about it. I don't think he does, but I'm sure like with his tenure in overall CS being longer than some of the players on his team, I'm sure he's quite helped him out a little bit in their game plans and whatnot. But yeah, absolutely deserved. I think 16's good. Like I said, I still want to see like what the top 11 to 20 is before I can maybe try.
Yeah,
and
I mean,
put him above someone. Maybe.
They said there was a 60 hopefuls for the top 20 this year, where usually it's like 30 or 35. Like it's. I can't fault like any ranking at this point, any number. If you have like the right players that should be in the top 10, with a little bit of leeway, and like whichever way they're ranked, like fuck it, whatever, man. It's just you have different regions. Even Navi, they played a few tournaments. CIS, they played a few tournaments in Europe. Like trying to get this shit like down right to the number is ridiculous. Like as long as you have like Bleh saying, two players in the same team, one of them seems like clearly to have more impact, and you have him above. Good with that. Like I'm good. I'm good with this rank.
So it's a fair shout there. There you go. That's our take on number 16. We give you the news straight from the presses over here at ELO Heaven. I mean, it is heaven. Like we should be able to have some sort of understanding of where everything is in the mortal plane. So makes sense.
Here's the question. Okay, this the answers might have to be a little bit tentative, but with this like player break situation, I'm fairly certain the reason you brought this up is you saw the Sponge tweet mentioning Blast on the 18th. I think it's the 18th, right? Or like 2 days after the player break, right?
18th, yeah.
Yeah. Whatever day it is. It's 2 days after the player break, I think, or 1 or 2 days. And someone in the Reddit thread was like, "Oh, interesting. The ESL commentator is mentioning something negative about Blast." And Sponge literally responded to that, which is a pretty good response. Basically, he's an analyst. He's trying to get more information, stuff like that, whatever. But I think there is a conversation to be had that these TOs have chosen their talent essentially and like marked their line in the sand. Like ESL has Sponge, like Blast has Scrawny and Launders. They've got their boys, and there's a little bit of crosstalk, a little bit of crossplay. But I feel like there's like more opportunity this year for this type of situation, for like that type of thing to actually be somewhat done in malice, which again, I don't think Sponge meant. I think he had a good point. But I think there is a conversation to be had there, to be honest.
I wonder if this will push TOs in general to get ahead of potential stories like this too. Like I think if Blast said something about announcing it, they could mention like, hot off the player break, the players are going to be joining us for the first event of 2021 or something to that effect, right? Like first tier 1 event. And they could almost like preempt any sort of, like you're saying, anything that might be malicious or, anything that might be in malfeasance, right? So yeah, I think maybe it'll be positive overall. Like we'll see more advanced announcements. I think there was an event calendar going around anyway. So this in theory was public knowledge, but nobody had sort of blasted it up, right? So what's your take on this, Bleh?
Personally, I don't really... I think it's malice by association, right? I personally don't think Chad was trying to throw shade at Blast or whatever.
I 100% agree with that. Like, I don't think he was trying to, but there is like even in the possibility that he's like, he knows he's ESL's guy. He's not Blast's guy. Like, does that, play in subconsciously a little bit to like, oh, look at something Blast did,
Could be, but I feel like for me it's more like, okay, you look at Flashpoint, right? You saw some of the skits they did, like kind of shitting on ESL, for example. I forgot what it was. I think it was like Duncan with the Indiana Jones skit, which is fucking hilarious, by the way. I was laughing my ass off. You saw FURIA as well. They were all jumping and having a little bit of fun, a little bit of banter. That's great, right? But it is clear that some people involved in the maybe like the creative head, maybe the social media guys, maybe someone higher up, right? They could be tweeting about their competition. And I feel like that's normal, right? You're gonna have that. Not everyone's gonna be chummy. Everyone wants a bigger bite of the fucking cake, pie, whatever. The thing is, like I mentioned earlier, though, because in the past, and because of the COVID situation and everything, like all the TOs, they've decided, hey, we're going to handpick these few talent. They're going to be our guys for the remainder of the year. Because it makes sense, right? It's a little bit more, it's a safer route to take, considering you can't have different talent flying in and out. ESL have, chat and friends. Like you mentioned, you have like a Maniac, Banks, and Pimp alongside Scrawny Launderers. You have Anders Semmler, and then Flashpoint has a mixture of quite a few. DreamHack's also quite a bit of a mixture, but then again, DreamHack are doing everything online, 99% of the events. So for them, they could pretty much get whoever they want. And because of that, like you said, you have these little camps kind of coming up, but I feel it is completely unintentional, in all honesty. And I feel like you said, the malice is perceived, and it's because, like I said, it's because of the association that these guys are so associated with these brands, like how Chad is pretty much a face of ESL Counter-Strike. Let's be fucking real here, right? So
yeah, he did work a couple Blast events, right? But he's the ESL guy. He's the ESL dude.
Guy. And he deserves it. I think he's done fantastic work. But at the same time, with being the face of ESL Counter-Strike, whenever something does tend to go wrong, or if he states his thoughts, it's to some people, they're like, oh, that's Mr. ESL talking, which is completely wrong.
Yeah.
But I also get why some idiots would go that route.
I think the problem is there's always going to be a tiny bit of bias, and people don't like when you haven't mentioned it, like when you haven't just acknowledged it. I feel like that's the same thing with the HLTV Astralis thing, where it's like people just want you to acknowledge it. So when Sponge comes out and says something ESL positive on like HLTV confirmed, he's actually usually pretty good about saying like, I am an ESL guy, right? Like that is my main bread and butter. And then he'll go on with this thing. But if you ever mention anything, this is like just the normal community response. Like you mentioned something anti-Blast, and I think he had a very good point. And I think that honestly, the guy in the Reddit comment had kind of a point as well. He had a good point. Like, a conversation about like when teams are practicing, because he did get responses in the comments like, yeah, we started practicing this day or whenever. Yeah. That's important to know as an analyst. But he's always going to get shit unless he starts every tweet with like, I know I'm ESL's dude, right? Like, but like, what about this Blast thing?
Yeah.
The thing for Blast too is like, Blast doesn't really have a choice. I feel like, ESL they put out their calendar, and it's like, this is our calendar, and then everyone else is just like, okay, we fucking got to work around that, like I wouldn't put that on Blast either. I think it's a conversation worth having, but you're always going to have people that are just going to be like, well, you're ESL's dude, this is. I think there might be times in the future where that is relevant. I think some other talent might come out that's like, I don't know, don't want to name any names, but like Blast dude or fucking Flashpoints dude, and there might be something a little bit more malicious that does end up happening. I don't think this is it, of course.
No, but like even if you look at like Lonus and Scrawny as well, sometimes they'll say something a little bit critical in a general way, like as fans of Counter-Strike, and you fucking look at these Blast boys and other shit talking. I'm like, listen, can't people have fucking opinions? Like just can't people have opinions without having to be like fucking grouped into some little comfortable, pigeonhole you want to put people into? You can't. It's a fucking internet. It's fucking Reddit. People are just gonna talk shit. So yeah, it's just the way it is. And I feel like as long as like people like Chad and Scrawny, Lonos, all these guys are not affected by it, fuck him. Honestly, fuck them. Who cares what they say?
As a Reddit pleb myself, I must inform you, Bleh, that we actually are mind readers, and we can understand exactly what's going through your head, even to a level so subconscious, so buried that you yourself don't understand it. So
I think By the Numbers has got everyone so on the like, because they've called out so many shady things that have happened, and they've called it out like, look at the conflict of interest, look at all this other shit, that people are just taking that with like their detective hat, and they're just like, conflict of interest. Like I see those all over the place.
Yeah.
Like,
it's the inverse problem that we normally have. People are like, "That? What do you mean? Double Lift sleeping with his boss isn't a conflict of interest, you idiot." And then it's like now we have the opposite problem where it's like, this guy who's a fan of Counter-Strike is clearly having a conflict of interest because he works an event and he's talking about an event he doesn't work. Fucking asshole, get him out of here. So I
think there always will be a point that like, if you work an event, you're always more lenient. You're always nicer. Like, you don't want to shit talk someone you work with. You don't want to be too negative about someone you work with. you know, there's always going to be that, and you can't help it, which means like usually disclosure is important. But like, does anyone not know Sponge is kind of ESL's guy? Does anyone not know Scrawny and Launders are like Blast dudes? I feel like, you know, those are pretty out there in the open. But I think, you know, I think there might at some point be a conversation to be had about, you know, that type of thing.
Yeah, no, I think, for example, like it would probably behoove these people who are perceived as the ESL guy or the Blast guys or whatever to maybe back channel a thought that they think is interesting to say like, hey, somebody who's not affiliated with ESL or would not be perceived to be like dunking on one TO disproportionately, can you tweet this out? But then, I mean, Sponge is probably more influential than a lot of people who he would back channel to. And also, it seems fucked up, like Bleh was saying, that we can't share our opinions if we're at a certain, you know, point.
Yeah,
so
Sponge also phrased it pretty well. I think it was like the Reddit thread that kind of took it a different direction than he meant.
Yeah, mind readers, dude. Yeah.
I mean, some of the Reddit comments and threads we've seen the past couple of days have been made me want to stab my eyes out at times.
I've been reading my YouTube comments recently, man. It's some of this shit. Oh fuck, man. Some of this shit, dude. Like, oh. Whoa.
Let's go into it then. What did you find?
I feel bad for like smaller YouTubers, man. Like, because I'm pretty confident I know what I'm talking about. You know, some people would say an error, but I'm pretty confident I know what I'm talking about. So when someone's like, "This fucking idiot has no idea what he's talking about," I turned off the video after he said you're supposed to triple long on Dust 2. And I'm just like, I genuinely feel bad for people that just like are less certain, like smaller YouTubers that have to read this and like not just tell you to fuck off. Like, which is exactly what I fucking tell these people. Like, someone was trying to say, "What are you gold?" Like, because I made this video, you're playing Dust 2 wrong. Because whenever I play Pug, someone's like, "I got cat," and I'm like, "No, you don't have cat. Like, that's not a thing. You start triple long, and then you go back, you pivot back, and you hold from car and elevator or plat and long." And I got like 15 comments that are like, "Is this guy fucking new? He's fucking noob? Like, doesn't understand you don't triple long? What if they rush cat? What if they smoke Xbox and rush cat?" And I'm like, dude, how do you fucking function? Because these people, this is like Reddit in a nutshell, though, because they're so wrong, but they're so confident.
Yes.
They're 100% confident, and they're just like out there like, "You have no idea what you're talking about. This is exactly how it works." And it's like, buddy, man, trust me. I know what I'm like. You just gotta fucking listen. And the confidence is what fucking kills me, dog. The confidence, because they're so wrong, but they're so sure that they're right. They're 100% sure.
It's amazing.
Oh, buddy, I can't fucking handle it, man. I'm going back to not reading my comments ever again.
That's just how it works, right?
It's kind of like, you know, it's mind-boggling. I know it's a meme right now, but like, you look at like some of the Pornhub comments, and you're like, "Wow, reasonable discussions happening over here." Like Reddit, you're like, "What the fuck is this clusterfuckery?" Right? Like, don't get me wrong.
He needs to upload his videos to Pornhub. Is that what you're suggesting?
Yeah, dude. Like, you're gonna get some pretty good comments right there. It's like,
yeah, I can upload the fur video to Pornhub. It would probably be
go.
appropriate.
He's pushing tunnels. He's going in deep. I mean, I don't want to shit complete on Reddit. Like, let's be fucking real, right? So you're usually a vocal minority. I still feel like, you know, I really like the CSGO subreddit compared to certain other subreddits, which shall not be named. I think, you know, the moderation isn't as anal as it could be, as we know in titles. I think it's still very relaxed. Some pretty good, you know, jokes here and there. The only like thing, obviously, which annoys me about Reddit would be the fact that like good content creators don't really get this stuff, like real thought out, proper analytical stuff, not just about like CSGO the game, but like about the teams, interviews and stuff. It doesn't really get upvoted, which is tragic. It's just memes all the time. But hey, you know what? Sometimes I have HLTV for that, you know? I follow the right people, so I'm happy with that. But apart from that, yeah, I do give a lot of shit to Reddit, deservedly so. But at the same time, you know what? I still like them.
Yeah, my favorite one of the things is when we get Mirage infused with Dust 2.
Oh, fuck that, dude. That's the worst thing I've ever seen.
I like both Dust 2 and Mirage, but that abomination should be fucking aborted.
Yeah,
like,
you know, in the comment section, I made the mistake of clicking on a thread where he was updating people about it because he showed a gray box or something, and he was like, I thought instead of calling the bomb sites A and B, because both of the bomb sites are A from each map, I'm going to call them D and M for Dust 2. No, you can't make us change everything because
Oh,
you
is
wanted to
he
fuse
actually
these.
making the map? Or
Yeah,
is this
yeah,
like
it's a map file. It's
my
not just a
God.
meme.
Oh,
It's-
Yeah, so shout out to that guy. Whoever he is.
I don't know. There's a few things I don't like about Reddit. One of the ones is that like you can literally track like if the first 5 comments in a thread are positive, the thread will be positive, and if the first 5 are negative, the thread will be negative. It's like so we just got like the herd mentality going on.
Yeah, it's a herd mentality. It's kind of like a hive mind, and of course, if you don't like a person, fuck the content. We're just gonna fucking downvote that.
That's the other problem.
Yeah.
Like there's a lot of like celebrity worship with pros, and then there's also like the opposite where it's like if they don't like someone, they're downvoting anything they got. They're shitting on anything they got. But then it's like, guys, Warel's map got added to the Face It hub.
Hell
like,
yeah. I don't even know what
1,000
Face It Hub
upvotes.
is. I'll upvote that though. Yeah.
Like and it's like I don't know that the map is like just orange boxes and it's like, yeah, we did it, Reddit. Like what did we do? We didn't do anything.
They do get a disproportionate amount of credit associated with them, right? They're like, yeah, we made this happen, us, not whoever actually made this. We made it go up though.
Let's be at least happy about the fact that at least our subreddit, you can be critical of Valve or whatever. It's not like certain other
that's for
publishers
sure.
and whatnot. And also, if you want to be happy about the CSGO subreddit, just go to VaxSucks and see those fucking dribbling idiots.
Actually, go to CSGO. Have you been on Reddit CSGO?
Oh, is there
not
a
Global
different one?
Offensive, but CSGO?
Okay.
I have.
That is a shithole. That
let's see what we
Reddit
find.
is a shithole. Like, that is so much worse. It's smaller, obviously, but it is so much worse.
Oh, it's all memes. Wait, it's actually all memes.
Is it like ironic memes or like super self-aware, or is it like actual idiots?
I think there's no moderation, so just anyone posts whatever the fuck they want.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
I didn't even know that subreddit existed until like a few weeks ago. I just randomly looked it up.
I knew it was there, but I felt like it was kind of like an.
I sent you a sample.
That's a great meme. That's great.
That's a good one.
My favorite CSGO meme is like it's not on the CSGO subreddit. It's like just a meme where it's like the crying cat, and it's like I've been playing CSGO for 4 years, so you're good then. And then it's got this fucking crying
I feel like my favorite like CSGO meme of all time has to be the Doshia GIF.
Is the one that's motion tracked where he's like oh.
Yeah, he's smiling and then he's like frowning, just like looks evil, staring at the camera. It is. I was there for the event. I was like, what is going on with this human being? Like, what a meme fucking machine.
Yeah.
God, I miss him so much.
He could have been in China, dude. He could have been playing in Asia.
Someone posted about that. They were like, imagine the world where we've got Doja, Smooya. Wait, what was the team? Because there was a team. It's supposed to be in like
Snappy
Asia.
as well, yeah.
There was Captain Mo, I think. No, you're talking about like Smooya and Snappy joining the Mongols, right? That's different.
Okay, someone listed 5 players. I guess they were on different teams. They're supposed to be.
Yeah,
right?
I have the link. It's from Eminem's. He said, "Up late thinking about the timeline without COVID, where Snappy, Smooya, and Urcast are playing against Dozia and Mo in China." Like, okay, that was almost a reality. Yeah, shout out to him.
That's fucking crazy, man. That's fucking crazy. I mean, I guess they got a lot of money in China from all those tier 2 games they play that have questionable results.
Let's not get into that.
We'll leave it at that. We'll leave it at that.
Fucking 1 hour of me fucking ranting.
It's funny before you
by any Asian TO ever again. So yeah,
a couple days back, I was like, if it's gonna be a slow news week, maybe we can just get Bleh to talk about the Chinese games, and he, I don't think he needs his career. Like surely he doesn't want it that much. So
like it's like when I do the other podcast, like Geographically Challenged with Elfish Guy, right? Whenever like we don't have any news, they just like purposely just poke me till I just snap about Asian CS. I go like a half an hour tirade, and then Elfish is like, "Yeah, I'm going to clip that. I'm going to post it and get this fucking clip."
Hey, if you ever watch some Chinese CS, I'd say one thing you're going to see is like more than anywhere else in your life is like map 1 going really one-sided one way, and then map 2 and 3 going really one-sided the other way. Like that is a very You know, that's a very common trope. Like, I think it's just Asians are just like the Chinese scene just has like very specialized map pools or
Yes,
something.
yes. They're just very bad on their opponent's map pick. It's okay.
And also, you will never ever see two teams trying to throw the same round at the same time.
I think there's more than one round.
I didn't want to throw the entire game, but like that one round, it just broke me. I'm like, you're not even hiding it anymore. Jesus Christ, start spin botting already. Fuck.
It's bad.
That is funny.
And by the way, it's not their opponent's map pick they're bad on; it's their own map pick.
Okay, yeah. That's fine then. Perfectly reasonable. Does feel like it's held the scene back. I really wanted to see Doja over in Asia, but it's okay. The X-God will find another time, of course. One of the things that, I mean, we could either go two ways. Obviously, we spent a long time talking about Reddit. I do have Reddit moments of 2021 so far lined up later on in the show. We could decide to go directly into that, or we could talk about some of the other news, the roster moves, the prospected moves that might be happening, might not be happening. Some of them are more rumor than fact. So yeah, really, I guess I'll just open the floor to you guys, since figure one of you guys is going to have something that you want to talk about that's slotting into one of these two categories. Anything here's jumping out at you, or anything that's been particularly annoying to you about Reddit recently that we haven't already touched on? What do you think?
The host, man. Fuck. Whichever direction you want to go.
Yeah.
All right.
I can talk shit for hours, buddy.
We'll save the talk shitting for hours later on, and we'll talk about C9 closing in on Elmapuddy and Xeppaa. This is an interesting one for me, because C9, obviously, Henry G was like, yeah, sure, we'll do a sixth man. I have so much of Jack's money, dude. I don't care. So that was pretty epic. And he's like, yeah, sure, we'll get a sixth man. Looks like they're going to be grabbing Xeppaa instead of him flying away to Valorant. So that's nice for the scene overall. And Elmapuddy, obviously, given the fact that we talked about this earlier, Gen G is just allowed to do whatever the fuck they want with that team, and they're just letting them go. So Elmapuddy is going along with them. And a little bit later on, we'll talk about BnTeT as well, who's also removed from Gen G, it seems like. But shall we talk about this C9 move? What do you guys think? Hold
on. Has Alex ever been in the same room playing with Xeppaa before? Have they ever been in the same room playing together? Because I'm not sure if Xeppaa's legit, dude. I'm just not sure, man.
What do you mean by legit?
I'm not sure that. I mean, I'm just like, have you ever been in the same room playing with Xeppaa before? Just this just genuine question, you know. That's just all I want to know.
Is this some sort of like Smooya-esque thing? Are you suggesting that maybe Xeppaa might not be the best fit for C9?
No, that's what shit. It's what Fallen said to Steel, right? Fallen was instead of apologizing, he was like, "But have you ever been in the same room playing? Have you ever been in the same room playing?"
That was too deep a cut.
Fuck, you guys missed. That's what Fallen said. He was like, "You ever been?" But have you ever been in the same room playing with these guys?
I woke up to the news like literally feeling Ryan's erection on the back small of my back about the news. But I feel Elma's a good shout. I feel like I think he did a pretty good job in Gen G. I saw the interview as well where he's like, oh, you know, like I've learned a lot. And I do believe he's grown as a player as well. I feel like this team's going to be an interesting experiment. However, that being said, I do wonder how much of a say he's going to have with it's very clear that Alex is the guy at the helm, right? He is the guy who kind of takes the call when it comes to the tactical side of how the team approaches teamwork or whatever, Counter-Strike.
And whether or not they even have a coach, apparently. That's what we learned last week.
Apparently as well, right? And then you have someone like Kassad who has a fucking proven track record, and they're like, okay, there were differences. Fair enough, you know, let's not get into that particular discussion. But with Elmapuddy coming in, someone who I don't think, again, like, you know, you're dealing with certain players who have played in tier 1 teams, who have won shit, who have a pretty big ego. Let's put it simple as that. And I won't like deserved ego as well. And then you coming in as a player who as a coach, where the best work you've done is with a Gen G team consisting of yeah, sure, you had Daps, you had Automatic, but then you had BnTeT coming in. You've proven that you can make a team competitive, but you haven't done it at the highest levels of Counter-Strike yet. You didn't really have a great run throughout 2020 with all the Corona shit happening. How is he going to fit in? Is he just going to be Alex's bitch, to, you know, put it a little bluntly, or is he going to be able to like try and implement what he wants to do? I think that's a big question mark here, because I feel like I feel with what happened with Kassad, like a coach with kind of like with a hard head, with a very who's very convinced in his style of Counter-Strike. I don't think it's going to be working there unless it perfectly gels with Alex. So I feel like it could work with Elma because I feel he's going to be a little bit more pliable, but I don't know if that's a good thing. You know what I mean? Right? I would like someone to come in to give in his thoughts and ideas and not just go along with what Alex says. I'm not saying it's going to be wrong or right, but I feel like there is room for healthy disagreement. I don't know if that's going to happen here for Elma.
I think you need good disagreement. Like you need to be able to work on, like, you need to be able to work together and come to compromises, but I think actually it's very beneficial to have a coach and an IGL that don't think of CS in the same style, because then you get, I don't know, maybe there is disagreement in this, but I think you get a better mesh of styles when you have maybe an IGL that's a bit more aggressive and a coach that's a bit more passive. And more more like tactical, because then you work together and you come to a middle ground, and you have some aggressive tendencies and some passive tendencies that will make you a more dynamic team, rather than two, coach and IGL that both want to be hyper aggressive. But I suppose there's, there is positives and negatives. That's just the way I've always kind of looked at it myself, where you kind of, mesh them together a little bit. But I really do question what happened with Kassad. Like, that is major red flags. Like, what happened there? Was it just disagreements about the way you should play? Like, how did it come to a head that Kassad's leaving?
I feel there was some pretty good answers to Prof's Twitter thread. Like,
he made it. I didn't see it.
He made it. It was like, what do you think happened? Was it a complete management failure, or was it this? And I think there were a couple of pretty interesting comments on that. And I feel like, I guess it was just the lack of prep work done. I feel like overall for Cloud9, where they're like, we're just going to bring these people together. It's going to work out. They didn't go in deep enough. Now, I don't know if I can really blame them for that, right? When I'm going to build a team, for example, and if I look at it from outside as an outsider, I look at Alex, I'll look at Kassad, I'm like, hey, this could fucking work, right? This could actually work. I was excited for it. So the fact that it went down, I don't necessarily think it was a managerial fuck up or whatever. I feel like something just didn't work out there, and we obviously were never going to find out what really went wrong, but what we could at least, instead of like hypothesizing what really went wrong, what we can gauge, what we can kind of like deduce from this fact is that Alex clearly has the bigger voice right now. Or maybe the team sided with Alex. We don't know, right? But it is clear that Alex is kind of like the big dick right now in the C9 camp. So whoever is coming in, coach, analyst, whatever, I think they have to kind of be a bit under his thumb. Again, I don't know.
My fear for any coach coming into Cloud9 now is that at first, obviously with Kassad, they were building the project together. There was no seniority besides like their past experience with other teams. There's no seniority in the org itself. I guess maybe, Mix obviously and Floppy, they were technically on the previous roster. But outside of that, it's like, these players all came together under the banner to build a team essentially from the ground up. And now you don't have that same connection, even though it's only been a few months with Kassad. Elmapuddy coming in, or whoever ends up coming in for Cloud9. It feels like you have to play catch up at that point as a coach if you're not there from the beginning.
This is kind of honestly kind of a test for Henry, maybe, to get a coach in there and make him feel like he can slot in effectively into a team that he didn't build and he wasn't there to start with. I feel like, maybe the GM should have some level of, trying to make that transition as smooth as possible, and make sure that, everything goes well with that type of move, because there's going to be a bit of a difference, especially there's there's that air in the room where it's just like, me and the other coach just had a bit of a disagreement and now he's gone. Welcome to the new coach. Like, there's that air there that's going to be a bit complicated to deal with. And I think that is something that maybe Henry G should have some level of, input over, or to help smooth the process.
Yeah, Henry G's role in the whole thing does feel a little bit odd, where maybe it's a little bit vague or unclear as to how much control he's having over this, because at the onset, especially with him being the mouthpiece in a way, felt like he was the guy to ask, right? It felt like he was the the guy to consider at all stages, and like everything was going through him. He was the general manager. He was the one putting together the team. So for him not to be able to argue for additional time to work out any potential issues and to have the healthy disagreements that Bleh was referencing and that Vu also agreed on, like that's supposed to be there for a team to succeed. You guys have to resolve any differences that you have, because it's a given that you will have those differences. For there not to be any opportunity to extend the duration of Kassad's stay within the team does feel a little bit odd, and maybe it was just open and shut, like this is definitely not going to work. We know it's not going to work. Let's cut him loose now, which would be the appropriate response. It's just, it feels unlikely that that's ever really the case. Like it's such a small percentage.
I also wanted to say that, I think Henry G is a person that will make that transition as smooth as possible, given what apparently happened with the old C9 situation, which is, I think Mick said this on a podcast, I can't remember where he said, like, give me a 2-page essay of like why you think you belong in the new roster.
Yeah, that was
right.
Like
yeah, that's like, if he's that hands-on, he should be able to make a new coach move happen. And if this coach move goes poorly, then something's drastically needs to change. Something's fucked up.
Oh, those contracts gonna be problematic if they want to go for a change as well. So I believe in Henry. I think he knows what he's doing. But yeah, good luck. If it goes south, it can go fucking south here.
I thought it was so funny when Richard was roasting Henry, and he's like, after Cloud9 dropped out, failed out of the last tournament, he said that Henry said, well, at least the one thing I could look forward to is Liquid losing the IEM Global Challenge. And then the game second. Oh, it's hilarious. Jesus
no
Christ.
bald frauding happening until the finals in that one, unfortunately for Mr. Henry G. I think that whole, I mean, if you guys missed the By the Numbers Christmas special or whatever, where they had probably way too many guests come on. I think Anders like inserted himself into that at some point. That was like the backstory there.
Dude,
but they had some pretty good ones.
I choked laughing. Like I was having so much fun watching that episode. I waited for the VOD to come out. I watched it again, beginning to end. It was fantastic. I think we all needed that. I think it was a very cathartic experience for me personally, being involved in the scene and whatnot. And like, I'm like, yes, they said it. Fucking thank you. Because I can't say without getting fucking, being unemployed for the remainder of the year. Yeah. But they said it, and I love that.
Well, there was some bombs, and I always feel awkward when one of the things that happened on the podcast is one person was like calling out without calling out a name, and then Richard is like, here's the name. Yeah. And it feels like I don't know if I was on a podcast and that happened, I'd be like, I don't really want you to say that. Yeah. Like, because then it just gets retroactively attributed to you. Course, it's like you were calling out this exact guy. Yeah. It's a little bit, I don't know how I'd feel about that. And but the one thing that was hilarious. Yeah, the one thing that was hilarious about this podcast is just how conspiracy theory Anders really fucking is.
Dude,
he's like, he's still talking about like, I think he's got a bet on whether or not the election for the U.S. election will be overturned or something like that. And he's bet that it's going to be overturned. And he's going on about aliens and shit. Like, I thought it was like a meme.
No, that's his sign off. He's like, nothing's real anyway. Man. We exist in another dimension or something. Yeah.
Beautiful, right? Like you have someone like Henry, you have someone like fucking Jason, then you have Richard, and you have Thor in there. And then you have this wild card like Anders is jumping. He's like, "Hey guys, I don't think you have enough fucking, like mushrooms or acid trips and aliens. I'm just gonna jump."
Make sure you got shungite. You got your shungite in your room.
Oh, dude, it was amazing. Fuck. I hope they do that like more often, apart from just the end of the year. But they also had like the scumbag of the year award, like the sneaky cunt of the year award, like so good.
Who did? I feel like they really left out Dead in the sneaky cunt of the year. I feel like I didn't hear his name. I brought it up on the last episode. I can't remember who they got as the sneaky cunt of the year award though.
They were so sneaky that they eluded our brain afterwards.
Did they do CSPPA?
I think it was the coaches.
Oh, it might have been all coaches, I guess technically Dead did get it.
I think they gave it to Zoner in the end because they're like, amongst all the fucking scumbag coaches, there was one.
He was not
There
so
was
sneaky though, so that's my thing. Is like he was 300 rounds or something. So
I think when you do it that blatantly, you've like transcended being sneaky,
yes,
right?
yeah.
You're
You're
like,
just the cunt of the year at that point.
I think that is the cunt of the year award. I just think Dead has to get it for like the attempted sneakiness of like giving a different round in his like in his justification, but he even cheated in that round.
Yeah,
that kind of fizzled away, right? Like quietly, that entire.
He kind of got away with it. Like people recognized it, but like he kind of got away with it to some extent, you know, which was fucked up. Like that really is some shit where they should like double or triple your punishment. Like, because you just brought hate on the guys doing the fucking investigation knowingly, you know, intentionally. It's not liking it. I'm not liking it.
the Brazilians are very commonplace. They're very often found leveraging their fan base in potentially. Well, I could just say
I hate that. I hate it, man. Because then anytime anyone else gets like anytime anyone says something where their fan base gets up in arms, now it's like an accusation. Oh, you tried to weaponize your fan base because someone has now done it.
Yeah,
Done it, yeah.
And it's fuck. I just think like. How many times can Fallen? I'm just gonna say Fallen specifically, but I think a few people on MIBR like have their fans go after someone for something they said that's pretty inflammatory, and then go, "Oh my god, never could have expected that." Yeah. Like I feel like after the first 5 times, you have to be held accountable somehow, you know. And the problem I have is, again, now other people are going to get blamed for that when they do it accidentally for the first time because someone else has like kind of provably been doing that intentionally.
Can we please like appreciate how the FURIA guys handle their
social media?
Yeah, by comparison, absolutely.
They're the younger guys, right? They're supposed to be more hot-tempered. They're supposed to be more, fuck you, like, prove it or else and shit like that. No, they're calm. Even the way the entire coaching thing happened with their coach, right? That it was probably the classiest way, the coach and the org handled it. And yeah, I mean, you have some bad eggs, you have some good eggs. FURIA guys were fucking fantastic, and I like their fans as well. It seemed they're reasonable people, most of them at least.
Yeah, it's almost like the players set an example or something. Weird.
I know, right? Yeah. Like, scumbags attract scumbags, and nice guys attract nice guys. Who would have thunk it? Who would have thunk it?
FURIA guys are legit.
Have you ever been in the same room with one of these nice guy fans? How do you know?
Well, here's the question. Okay, this is like pure speculation. Okay, pure speculation. But nobody talked about this. I literally couldn't find anyone mentioning this. I couldn't find anyone mentioning this when his name is Gary, right? Is the coach Gary?
Gary.
Yeah. So he said he was minimized, and he's got a recording of it.
Mm-hmm.
When you minimize in full screen windowed is the only time it's laggy like that. But you can still see the game. The game is still there. But you're tabbed out from the game on a different, like if I'm looking at my Chrome on the second monitor, I can still see the game, but it's laggy like his was. Mm-hmm. So I think when you minimize from full screen, you're actually minimized. Your game just like doesn't project anything on OBS. I think that's how it works. So what he might have done is he might have pulled another, like a Chrome tab on top of CS. But like when everyone says he's minimized, I'm not 100% sure that he was like definitely minimized. Like that's not perfect evidence.
Like if you press like your full screen and if you tap the Windows button, for example, right? The game does minimize.
So you have to be full. So the reason I know this is because I record all our scrims when I'm coaching. Yeah. So when I tab out to a second monitor to my notepad, I go in full screen windowed so the game doesn't minimize and it keeps recording even when I tab to my notepad. And I tab to the notepad, write a note down, and it's laggy recording, like in like 5 FPS.
You can disable that with a setting anyway, though. So even if it weren't like that, I mean, it's a very unknown setting. It's only really used by observers, but like you can also make it run at full FPS the entire time. So
yeah, it wouldn't have been running at full FPS. Otherwise, the OBS would have caught that.
Yeah.
But I think the reason that it's not like absolving evidence that he said he minimized, like a reason for that is the fact that he very likely could have just been full screen windowed and tabbed over. Not saying he used that. He might have just like put a Chrome tab over top or something. That might have been his way of doing it. But you know, when people come out and say that he was definitely fully minimized because it's laggy, I don't think that's how CS works specifically.
I still believe him. I like him.
Yeah, that's the problem. I like him, so I want to believe him. Right? That's the problem. It's the same thing with London.
It was literally like how many rounds, right?
Yeah, that's the other thing, you know?
That's when you give the benefit of the doubt to someone. I
Yeah.
feel like that's how it works.
Yeah, I don't know. Definitely I want to give the benefit of the doubt to him. I just wanted someone to bring that up so I could be like, all right, someone's brought it up. I can sleep right, like just so like just someone has talked about this.
Yeah, I know what you mean. We will say, as far as the coaching stuff goes, I think one of the best examples in general, like it's not just FURIA as a body, but obviously, like you guys were saying, Gary handling it. I think he even served out. Like I don't think his org has like touched him in that sense, right? Like he's serving out his time. Is that correct? Or is he doing a Hunden?
It's a very good question. I don't think he's doing a Hunden, but I don't know what the situation is.
I actually don't remember. Like, I guess he's still employed, but he's like completely not dealing with the team at all right now. I don't know. It's a pretty short period. It's 3 months, right?
Yeah, it might already be over actually.
Yeah, I think he got a really short one too. Yeah. I don't know. Personally, I feel like I'm somewhat fine with a coach staying with the org, just not in a coaching role. What I'm really against is the coach like getting hired somewhere else in a non-coaching role. Like I feel like that's really fucking weird. If the org wants to keep a coach on salary to rehire them in 6 months or 3 months or whatever, I feel like I'm fine with that. I don't know.
It's at least a little bit better than some other org taking them on after they've been outed as a cheater, is what you're saying, right? Like,
or getting picked to like coach a children academy team, like a fucking team out there.
I forgot that this happened, man. I forgot that this happened.
and defending the fuck out of it as well. Jesus.
Oh, yeah. And just like anyone that disagrees is idiots.
Dude,
like,
listen, I like Forza because they have Jerry. I like Jerry. He's a funny guy. He's amazing in interviews, right? But that fucking ruined everything for me for that org. Jesus.
No, not only that, but they also have like not only do they have the morons, like Richard Lewis likes to say, he's like, these are all morons, but there's also the immortal, like he telling, I don't remember who they told. It was either Richard or Duncan, but they were like, yeah, you can go off to the forest or something, which is like some obscure Russian insult for like go. Just
yeah. They were fighting over that. Yeah.
That was because the branding of Forest School is like, we're gonna like teach them ethics or some shit. Like there was some weird branding thing that they did that made it so much fucking worse, man. Oh boy.
Well, he's supposed to bring up these kids. Yeah, he's supposed to instill morals and virtues of playing Counter-Strike into them.
Okay, so maybe you guys have more information on this one, but like what the fuck is happening with all these academy teams? Because isn't Valve like, they were expressly against it and they were like, academy teams can't happen, and then MIDR had like and then gaming happened and they were just like, oh, but they can happen, we just want you to disclose it. And it's like, so now everyone's like, okay, so they can happen, so we're all making academy, like what the fuck? Just, like,
and what if happens now, and we don't know how much has changed, where let's say Astralis and Mini Astralis, they qualify for the same fucking event. What happens there, right? Like, is there going to be another statement coming out? It's weird.
As long as it's disclosed, apparently it's fine as far as the gaming case is concerned.
We promise not to throw the game against our fellow team.
Yeah.
Cross my heart and hope to die.
Someone in chat saying crazy that players or people talk about teams or players cheating. They only blame coaches, not proving the players took active part. But it's more likely than not.
I agree.
Yeah,
I agree.
The heroic example is one that's pretty clear. Like the Nicola Nyholm thing that we keep going back to.
I actually disagree with this one.
Just say no. I feel look, just playing the odds, right? Just looking at the number of coaches who got banned and the way they were involved. Like the Zoner incident, 100% players knew, but you can't prove it. And I do like to, believe that you have to be innocent until proven guilty, as fucking obvious as it might be. And I feel it's going to be impossible to prove that these players cheated, even though it might be likely. In some cases, not everyone.
I mean, I don't know. The thing is, talking about it is one thing, but talking in the esports community. It's not like talking. It's just like either people are witch hunting or they're not talking about it. Like it's one or the other. Did the players cheat? I think with Hard Legion, it's bordering on impossible that they didn't have any information. They didn't know. With 3 coaches cheating,
Yeah.
like there's something going on there. But like any of these other teams, it's just better not to accuse them than it is to accuse them, in my opinion, because there's every reasonable potential that they didn't have any idea. I think what's most likely is that a lot of these players were kind of like borderline questioning, like, how did he get this information? Like, what's this? But then they like didn't really fully question it. I don't think it's one of those situations where like the coach is like, by the way, I can see them. I can see exactly where they are. Because that's like not something you would say. You would just call the rotates. And then maybe outside of that, you might call it or something. You know, you might say exactly why. But I don't think it's that clear cut. So some of these players could have just been like turning a blind eye type of thing. But I don't think it's like something that should necessarily be talked about, because I think you can't prove it. And so what's the point of talking about it? And then you definitely don't want a witch hunt to start, right? So
Yeah.
That's basically what happened when Heroic was called out, right? When I think it was Glaive as well as Nicola Nyholm that also made a tweet about the Heroic situation. So like it wasn't even just management or whatever talking to management. At that point, it was straight up like calling you guys out directly, the players out directly. So that has such a propensity to turn into something much worse and much less productive as well, even on an objective level, right?
Yeah, I know, but it's like I would be okay letting this lie if all these situations of coaches not being fired and remaining in an analyst role, like they didn't. So many of them just got away with like not even a slap on the wrist, like a little pat on the wrist, and they're there. It's fine. You'll be back in a bit. You know, that was bullshit. I feel like if they all got like a uniform punishment from all their respective teams or whatever, I feel this topic would be dead. Everyone's like, yeah, okay, it's happened. They're punished. Let's move on, right? But the fact that it just remained murky and nothing really came out of it, I think that's what's rankling a lot of people involved in the industry. And I have to put the blame here on the orgs. Some of them are being pretty fucking scumbaggy about this. Like you look at Heroic, you look at fucking Forza. I mean, they went to a whole different fucking league altogether. But yeah, I wish they just sorted this out earlier on, but it is what it is, right? You don't really like ESIC can't dictate what they do to these coaches. And that's unfortunate, but that is what it is.
There's also the situation where I think a lot of the reason that this is continuing is because everyone's waiting for the next ban wave, right? Like, would we even be thinking about the coach bans? I mean, I'm sure we'd be thinking about it in context of 2020, but like it would not be at the forefront of anyone's minds if you're not like, oh, by the way, more coaches are getting banned. When eventually, MDL match fixers will be banned someday. Like, I think I'm just waiting for the next coaching bans, and then we can relive this whole situation again, and then go from there.
Surely it will be epic, and
maybe Hard Legion. Sorry, not Hard Legion. Forza just like creates a team with all the banned coaches. Maybe give them a third chance.
That's what people were worried about with Valorant and the match fixers when they get banned from CS. But if Riot doesn't mirror the bans themselves, then they could just start slapping together a team of fixers, and who cares, right? Like they could still play Valorant at that point, which might actually happen.
I really hope that they get it gets leaked out and all the players like who are match fixing and MDL, like they got Valorant, and then I know it's not going to happen, but I really hope
I've been told that there's a couple of players that have been released from teams because they know they're in the match fixing.
I've seen those. I've seen those tweets, right? Like they didn't say anything like just letting them go, but I feel like if the rot goes deeper, and from what I've seen, some of the tweets and what people have said, it looks like some pretty well-known names in Valorant, right? And I would love for them to get fucked by the org. But one thing we've learned from all the orgs out here are the fact that they don't care. They're like, it's a previous game, it's fine. Oh, he was just like, he's just a coach, it's fine. We'll just put him as an analyst role. So I don't really have much faith in all these organizations.
I think they'll get dropped for a few months and then get picked back up. Like I think they're going to be toxic.
Or
yeah,
bench.
yeah,
you
yeah.
know?
Benched is yes, yeah. I think that's a good one. That very likely might happen. They're going to be toxic assets for a minute, and then they're not going to be toxic assets anymore, and they're going to get picked up by whoever wants to win the most, because there are, probably some very good players that are going to be toxic assets for a little bit once this investigation eventually comes out. Or in theory, I've heard suggestion that part of the reason it's taking so long is they're cooperating with authorities, in which case some of these players might literally just be put in jail, and they're not playing any Valorant if they're in jail. So we'll see.
Yeah, prison
It's
Wi-Fi is not up to the task. Sorry, not gonna work out there.
Can you imagine like smuggling like PC parts into the fucking bread?
You got a wide hole if you're doing that.
Oh, that went dark. I love it.
You went that way, man.
I love it.
Fuck,
I love
man,
it.
How
you
else do
went
you
that
smuggle
way.
stuff in prison?
Imagine someone playing with like a fucking Microsoft and Telemouse, and they gotta smuggle that in. Everyone's gonna be
win?
playing with
How bad?
G303s, man.
How bad you
Oh
wanna win?
god. Or one of those like the rats mice which have all the sharp pointy edges and shit like that. Like, imagine smuggling.
Oh fuck, dude! Like, we're going dark places here, man.
Dark, aren't
Or
it?
this is odd, man. This
It's
is
spiraling out of
weird.
control. I love this. I love this.
It's the perfect place to do it up here in ELO heaven. What I will say, if we were to move on from this very not toxic topic, is if we talk a little bit more, we referenced earlier Elmapuddy and his role in Gen G, maybe transferring over to C9, another Gen G player, BnTeT. He's received offers from EU. It was a rather tame interview, not really a whole lot that was sort of given to us as far as information goes from the HLTV interview itself, and mostly down to BnTeT's answers there. But the offers that he's getting from EU were what made the headlines. And I don't know how much of that was really fully divulged. I don't know what percentage of them or whatever are anywhere close to insider knowledge or public knowledge. But I think BnTeT has made a pretty good argument in general. The fact that he's played on an international lineup in 2020, and also the fact that he is able to put up impressive numbers, means to me, as far as I'm concerned, like he's a shoo-in for some top 20 team in the next year, in this year. So what are we thinking for, I know, Bleh, you had some ideas for talking about this particular segment. So what's your opinion overall on where he might end up, and what do you think he might be able to bring to some of the rosters that are trying to form in EU?
My biggest worry when BnTeT got called up for Gen G was I was scared it's going to be another machine gun and splice scenario, right? Although I knew BnTeT, like, he had the chops. Like, he was, if you watch a guy play, like, this guy's good. He knows what he's doing, right? And he was by far like a massive anomaly and outlier in Asian counters. Right? He was like by far the best, easily. But I was always worried, like, moving to NA, like the cultural issues, especially when you're moving from Asia to like a Western part of the world, like EU or NA, it's a much bigger cultural shock. And I've spoken to some of the players and they're like, yeah, we struggle with that. Right? I'm like, so he's going to be alone, going to be speaking in English, which he can speak, but it's going to be much different. You're talking to people who speak English in a much more, especially North Americans will be speaking way more Americanized English, much more free-flowing English compared to like some EU players, for example, where they might slow things down for him. So all these things came into play for me. But the fact that he was able to fit into a system, not just being like a wild card, but working as a system where his skill set was leveraged by DAPS and by the team, and how he was, and it was looking good when they're winning stuff. When I saw him playing, he was playing a pretty good role. He was no longer like the hard carry he was in Tyloo, because he doesn't need to be anymore, right? And he's not set up to be that anymore. And he's not calling anymore as well, which is fantastic, because he was never meant to be a caller. Yes. He was a raw rifler. So I feel like it has been a very evident path for me, right? This Asian prodigy kind of being the hard carry of the best team in Asia. He seems like he's got what it takes, moves to NA, proven it. He's proven that he is a player who can fit in. And now, and like, he's playing with fucking DAPS, proven IGL, he's been able to build up how many players in North America, around the world. You're talking, he was playing with Automatic as well, major winner. He's picked up a lot of things over there. And I've only heard good things about him from people like Elmapuddy and whatnot. So I feel it's a lot. If you're a team looking for a fifth or maybe a sixth in the current day and age of Counter-Strike, I feel he would definitely be a good pickup. And also feel like the buyout's not going to be too crazy, right? Because bear in mind, he was picked up directly from Tyloo, where his salary wasn't anywhere close to what it would be if you were in a NA or EU team. So I'm assuming his salary was already not that massive, and I don't think the buyout's going to be too crazy either. He would be absolutely a good, reasonable pick for a top 20 team. And Vu's going to be like, no, it's fucking shit.
Well, I mean, technically, all I was going to say is technically, I think Tyloo was an international roster too.
They did have that weird language thing
Dude,
going on where he was
He
copying
hard
multiple
carried that in
languages.
3 languages. I mean, Jesus fucking
No,
Christ.
I think a pretty telling thing is that BnTeT goes from being a Gen G to immediately looking at EU potential teams. I think that's a big, that says things, because I think there's a good point to be had. Moving from an Asian team to a North American team, that is a huge culture shift in the way people deal with problems, conflict resolution, general gameplay, but just things outside of the game that oftentimes cause, you don't see it too much in CS, but you see it a lot in League of Legends, where Asian players come to North America and they just don't do well. They just don't have, the practice is different. They don't mesh with their team. They cause problems, some of them. They think it's going to be, more relaxed maybe than it is, stuff like that. And it just doesn't go that well. I think BnTeT did really well. I am a BnTeT supporter. I've watched quite a few of his games. I think he's a fucking good player. And there has been suggestions that maybe he could unite with the boys and be on Extremum, and that would be a pretty interesting move. I feel like that could work.
I would love that. I feel like it would be kind of like some weird anime, right? Like he saw BnTeT, dude, he was smashing Renegades before, before the 100 Thieves. They were Renegades, one of the earlier Asian miners. The last Asian miner they lost, the last 2, I believe. After that, they won everything else because Tyloo sucked dick. But it was BnTeT, literally just going Super Saiyan against him. It was kind of like the bad guy. And then then they won the remaining Asian miners. They moved on to become a tier 1 team, and then everything kind of shit hit the fan. They broke up, and then they team up with their old nemesis. That's fucking, you can't make up this shit, dude. It'd be too fucking cheesy, but it'd be great. I'd love it.
Yeah,
God,
I mean,
stand the fuck out of that shit. Fuck Tyloo.
And they're all in the Asian minor, right? So there shouldn't be too many cultural differences, right?
Yeah. They got the war stories. They know what's going on.
Oh God. I'm so happy.
It could be a pretty big move, though, for sure. And I mean, that almost feels like the most logical of all of the ones, because there's Extremum. They need one player. BnTeT is one player.
I would have loved to have seen JKS and BnTeT together, though. That is the one. That is the one tragedy. The best player from Australia ever in CSGO and the best from Asia together in one team, uniting against the evils of EU and NACS.
I'm sure they could still get Dick Stacey on the roster. You're saying best Australian player ever?
Well, biggest dick player in Australia for sure. I mean, he's doing good in Valorant right now, so
Oh, he's playing Valorant, really? I didn't even.
Is he even the biggest dick in Australia,
Dick
though?
Stacey.
I'm sure there's got to be some pro player from Aussie.
I think the biggest dicks in Australia are the guys from the Rooster lineup. They are absolutely the biggest.
I don't know, man. The biggest dick in Australia has got to be Sponge.
There it is.
I think you guys completely missed the reference there. The Rooster,
no, Rooster obviously, because it bleeds out into the name of the team, of course. Yeah,
and they're match fixing fucking cunts, Yeah, there.
Well, wait, hold on. Did they? I thought Rooster just bet on other MDL matches, right?
They did a lot of fuckery. They bet on other MDL matches. There was one case where one guy, he got banned, right? I forgot for what it was. For faking his age, right? and this is a guy who we spoke, I think Elfish spoke to him on a podcast, asking him to defend the allegations. Yes. He was well spoken. He was a 17-year-old kid. He was well spoken, whatnot. And boom, it's like you faked your age. Boom, you're banned as well. And then there's a lot of fuckery in that little cesspool. Those two teams. Look, I like them as players. I feel like there is potential in some of those players, but everything else outside of being in the server, not a fan. Come on, grow the fuck up. Grow the fuck up. You want to be a professional Counter-Strike player? You can't behave fucking like them, basically. So yeah,
I think I'm remembering unfortunately, I'm remembering an Adam Sandler movie where some guy is he's clearly in his 30s and he's a super athletic soccer player and he's signing up for a little league game and his birth certificate is just drawn in crayon. It's
bench warmers. It's bench warmers.
Oh, that's
they're in the baseball league and they've got I feel like it's the most well-known Hispanic actor, and he's just like it's crayon with the
Yes.
$20 bill.
Yes.
I
I'm 5,
am
by the way, or
12.
something. Yeah,
Like,
So that's
Oh,
what I'm imagining
fuck,
happened
boy.
down in Aussie. That's all I'm saying. So
I
land
mean,
down under.
when it comes to not acting like adults, you know, if you want to be a pro CS player, I think the entire UK CS scene would disagree.
There you go.
But
Oh, we're going like pretty deep
It's
here.
abroad, dude. We got to cover the whole globe. It's just how it is. I
Well,
think
you can see this is doing good though. If you think about it, individually.
I'm still,
speaking.
I'm waiting to see
they've
what
they've got a couple
happens.
charity cases. It feels like that are doing pretty well.
Are you trying to say Mezzi's of Make-A-Wish Foundation? Q? What's going on?
I feel like I said a couple, but really, when I'm thinking Make-A-Wish Foundation, I am thinking Mezzi because
Yeah.
like he seems to have been doing well in UKCS, right? But it's like he got kind of picked out, and it's like we think he's got talent, and it's like we hope he's got talent. Like we really hope he's a great player. That's who I was thinking about specifically.
Everybody else seems to get burned out or whatever. You know, some of them are just like, "Fuck, I can't take this. I can't play the major guys. I gotta go." And that's what happened with Smuya. So see ya. That was it.
Well, they're not EU players anymore, so they're probably not very good.
Ooh.
Yeah. Brexit jokes. Love to see it. That's one of those things. I have to wonder, like, is that actually going to start happening where UK can't travel because of the visa stuff? Because they are going to need visas at some point, right?
Someone said like I saw like someone posted this on Twitter, like you get free tuition in Scotland if you're Scottish or if you live in the EU. So like not the
British. Yeah,
not the
UK.
UK, not England. Like that's so fucking troll.
I like that though. Why can't we have more
no.
stuff like that? It does kind of boggle the mind that there are so many UK and I guess Welsh as well with Richard Lewis and Sam, but like there's so many people from the UK in terms of the broadcast talent that like it's weird that there's so little from the actual player base. You know what I mean? Like why have they
I saw a
gravitated
post
towards
about this today, like literally
really?
today. Yeah, was it on? I think it was a comment on a Reddit thread, on a Reddit post, or was it on Twitter or somewhere? Where someone's like, I think it's the HLTV comment or something. I'm so like, it's kind of like getting a sense of deja vu.
You read too many
HLTV comment is fucking amazing, right? I will fucking die on that hill. Like, it's some of the content, it's fucking gold. Anytime better than Reddit comments.
Have you read the ESEA threads? ESEA threads have sometimes
Once upon a
been
time,
pretty gold.
those are like fantastic as well. But yeah, I agree though.
The one ESEA thread I remember is hold in your pee so your reactions are fast. Someone did like a scientific analysis.
Remember HLTV thread where this guy's like, you know, cry is free, but no, cry is not free. Let me break it down for you. And he breaks down fucking salt.
Yeah.
Oh, dude, that is shit
fuck.
Reddit aspires to be, and they will never get there because they're too busy shitting on players and talent. So it is the way it is.
Also busy.
But yeah,
come on.
Yeah, fair enough. HLTV's got better memes though. I mean, you know,
probably.
Probably
right.
Who's best? JW best. Never gonna die. You know, I never forget a fucking Guardian flick. Like these are like these will not die.
GHR, I think GHR is a Reddit thing, but I don't know if anyone cares for GHR other than me. The greater hair ratio.
Oh yeah, I've seen that. I remember that. But again, that's the thing.
And the fat guy principle.
It's too elaborate to really pick off as a meme. You know what I mean, right?
Yeah,
the fat guy principle was pretty popular. I feel like I remember that. You needed like I don't even remember the specifics. I just know that it was a thing. But I know you had to have at least one, maybe two. For
you need to have at least one, but for every fit guy, it's like counts as a fat guy or something. I don't know exactly.
People have just too much time on the fucking hand. Here.
There you go. Well, since we are talking about the whole globe and everybody can get it, you know, Aussie, you know, UK, whatever, you can all get it. ENCE rumored to go international. What do we think about this? This is only a rumor.
I think this is like the shittiest rumor of all time. Like ENCE rumored to go international. Like water is wet. Like what else are they gonna do, man? They gotta go internet. Like they don't really have a choice.
Also, MSL tweeted out yesterday, the past 24 hours for sure, where he's like, he's going to be playing for the DreamHack Open January happening. He's going to be playing the Open qualifiers with a mixed team.
Okay.
And North have given him the permission. They're like, yeah, go ahead, you know, just try it out. So he was like looking out for like he was tweeting out saying, hey, just reply to me or message me, DM me if you want to play. So That's there, and now putting that into context with this snappy AZ thing. Yeah, I agree that I'll be going international, but at the same time, I don't know. I think there's enough. I think there's enough talent in Finland. I remember this one team. What was it, man? Fuck, I forgot the name of the team. It's one of the DreamHack Open events where like they were pretty good.
Probably
Like,
SJ or Havu.
it wasn't Havu.
Or are you
That
talking
SJ
about
was
that
what Yanti
really
was
weird
on, right?
Finnish team where they had
The weird
someone that
one.
was like banned for cheating or something?
Was that the one? Doto? Yeah, Doto
Yeah,
was
no, Dodo was on Havu before.
Okay, I forget.
Dottie,
But anyway,
Dottie was the guy on this. on
Dottie
this
was the
team,
guy. Yes.
Yeah,
Okay,
I don't
well,
remember
yeah,
this fucking team now. Whatever.
But wait, was that a Swedish team? I don't even remember, dude. Everything's the
No,
same
that was
right
a
now.
Swedish team. I think that
That's
was a
Swedish.
Swedish.
There we go. It was a Finnish team. But just to, like, I mean, fine. You want to go international? I
Who do
don't
you
know,
even get?
dude. I don't know what the fuck. Yeah, who do you even get at this lineup? It's like weird, all right? It's weird. You have fucking Snappy and MSL. I don't know, dude. Like,
there's no guarantee that MSL is on that roster. You know, I heard North could use an IGL. Maybe it's like what happens every time with North. It's like, we need to get rid of MSL. Hey, we need an IGL. I heard MSL is looking.
It is ridiculous. What a shit. Like, you want to talk about shit shows of an org. They've been doing it for so long now, North. And they have money, too. Like, they have football club backing. But they're just
it's like
North.
It's like, what's going wrong, right? Like, even when they had the right elements, like all these players who moved on from their lineup and went on to achieve greatness, it's like at this point you're like, fine, okay, forget about everything else. Forget that. Let's ignore that. You know, North may or may not have like a terrible management or whatever. Let's forget everything else. When you had a 5 players in the server, what's fucking up there, right? Like, something is just missing. Is it a curse of North or something? Because when you're in the server, everything else is out of the picture. Management, whatever bullshit you might be dealing with outside of the game. And even then it didn't click. And then these players move on to other teams and it just turned out to be like top 15, top 20 HLTV players of the year, right? So I think it's just cursed at this point, man. It's like some ancient Scandinavian Viking curse or something. Like, just to rebrand the entire fucking thing and start from scratch. But it might work
Just
out.
like they just haven't picked up good players like the Bubsky, Roy. They've missed shit tons of really good players just falling through the cracks. Like, you have Mad Lions like passing them up. You can't have that. That's just unacceptable.
That's the other
For
thing,
sure.
too, is like with okay, so ENCE has pretty much no money as an org compared to some of the other orgs out there. So I'm actually not sure how successful any international experiment will go. But if North is supposed to have money, like, Mad Lions are not a nothing org either. They've got some money too. But I think it says something about the legacy of your org in general. If you go from the thing that has football club money and you're like, I'm not going to play for that team. I would rather play for Mad Lions. Like, I mean, not to discredit or disrepute Mad Lions, but they did just come into the scene like not so long ago, a couple of years back, right? Like, compared
North
to North
is what, like the 4th team now in Denmark? Because I don't know if Mad Lions are still above them, but like, you know,
I would imagine
in
they must
2020,
be.
in 2020 at least, they're definitely above. And Heroic and Astralis, and like North is supposed to be, you know, the 2nd richest team in Denmark, right? I don't know how this shit works, man. It's not adding up.
I think Copenhagen Flames would be above North, like, at this point, you know.
Oh, just switch to
really
NA, man. Get North to NA,
Narth,
dog.
and NA Arth, yeah, Narth. There you go.
New
branding ideas.
And that rebrand was terrible.
It was.
Yeah, go from the lion to an eagle. Narth.
Let's not get it to like esports rebranding. Let's not go there.
Yeah, I mean, the only ones that were recent anyway were like Rogue, who's not even in CS anymore, so whatever.
Do you remember like the NRG one? Holy shit, that was like some fucking 1995 GeoCities fucking logo right there. Like,
yeah.
Fuck.
You don't like the stretched out globe, like to match the meridians of like one of those old maps or whatever? Like, that makes me very inspired to click heads and
let's not forget EG. You know, take one of the most iconic fucking logos in all of esports and just completely fuck it up. They did do a pretty good job kind of bringing it back, though. I like the new one.
Well, they did a good job with the new logo, but they did a terrible job bringing it back with we've got the line here to represent like some shit. We've got the circle to represent a global esports brand.
Just fucking don't do that. Don't justify it. Like, we all know why it's there. It's there because there was a giant outcry with your first rebranding attempt that was just shit. That didn't solve anything. Like, that's why it's there. That's not, don't tell me that it's there because you want to like represent esports or whatever.
I remember the thought going into my mind that the Evil Geniuses, the letter one, was meant to be temporary, and they were gonna change logos. But I don't know if that was something that was said at the time, or if that was something like it came out, like everyone hated it, and everyone were like, "Oh well, it's just for a little bit." I don't know. I feel like I would believe if that was not even just in response, but that was actually the goal, and they were just like they just completely fucking bungled the announcement, because like the Evil Geniuses letter shit, like you got to have a logo. Like you need, even if you're gonna use Evil Geniuses as your jersey, you should have a logo for shit. Like you need a logo, right?
Instead
like
of it just
Evil
being your
Geniuses,
team name?
yeah, your team name is not a logo, right? So I would believe that was always the intent, even if it came out afterwards. It adds up. But yeah, they fucked it up. Like super. If that was always the intent, they extra fucked it up. Like,
yeah, because it feels like it was just quick response. Like, oh yeah, we're gonna bring the sigil back. Don't worry. And like started as they're doing it, they're calling up their artists. Like, fucking find some way to work this in. Everybody's
rebrands are really awful in esports. The only good one I can think of is like Fnatic. Fnatic did a good one.
That's good.
It was like a minor tweak too. I mean, like it looks very different, I guess, but it's
unless
not like
logo,
a complete overhaul of everything that changes everything.
Unless your logo is complete garbage, or you have a clear like the heroic logo, that was good.
The one with the
helmet,
I mean? Yeah, like the old one.
Like it was a side profile Viking thing. That was a really good one, but unless you have something truly good which carries for the weight of the history of your org, don't do it. It's not worth it. It's fucking not worth it. Or do something like what like Fnatic did, right? So yeah. Okay, let's not get into this. This just gets my designer blood pumping and boiling.
I will just say as a final note, like, I think it's really funny that Dignitas had an opportunity to rebrand, including their name, when they did their logo change to the owl instead of the alien. And they still kept the name of a fucking suicide pact hospital or whatever the fuck. Like, what is why are they doing that? That's like, if you Google the Dignitas suicide clinic or something, is something in Sweden or Switzerland or something. Like, what the fuck? Change it. At least change the name if like you're going.
What does the VIE supposed to mean?
That's the betting club that sponsors them. That's
okay, because every time I see that now, I'm like, Dignitas females in this tournament. Like that every time. I double take every single fucking time.
Dignitas is a Swiss non-profit member society providing assisted/accompanied suicide to members of the organization who suffer from terminal illness or whatever. I mean, considering
you can say what you want about that particular clinic.
If that was named
right now, it is pretty fucking apt, yeah.
If that was named North, it would make a lot more sense.
True. Let's get a sister clinic open called North.
I am curious to see like how. I mean, I've been watching some of the results right now, but it seems very middling. Like they're losing to teams where you're like, oh, these are like bottom of tier 2, tier 3 teams, and I see all these tweets coming out from the org, and I'm like, are they really going to reach the level they want to really get to? I don't think so.
I think they got fucked by online CS. I really do. Like I watched them at Flashpoint 1, and I was tentatively hopeful. Like they seem to have a few good things going for them. Halzerk was great. They had the experience. I think they were, strategically, I think they did some things well. And then, you go online where teams are more aggressive. You're getting fucking Xantarez peaked all over the place. You're getting destroyed. I think that really set them back. I think older teams typically tend to do worse online on average. I would have to look at the data, but like, I think that's like my general idea. And I think they just, they lost out on that experience, the experience of knowing how to play under shit conditions where you like can't hear anything, using like using nades to figure out where your opponents are, which everyone admits they do, by the way, which is like, if you're going to talk about like kind of closet cheating, like that's kind of bullshit, but like everyone does it. You know,
Well, they throw a nade, they wait for a crowd reaction, that sort of thing.
well, you throw a nade, you can hear it because it's so loud on the speakers. You can hear if the
Oh.
nade is next to someone,
Okay.
right? So I heard suggestion that like sometimes observers try to not show the nades like that, just so that like they can't hear it or something.
That would
but
be
like there's
fucking
all
wild,
those
yeah.
there's all those little tricks that they use, like they don't get to exploit their knowledge advantage online. I think they got screwed more than anyone else.
It is just a legacy team in a way. I mean, VP kind of played the same way online, although obviously it's a completely different game back when they were still active, the Golden 5 Polish roster. But I have to also wonder, like, if you're gonna look at Dignitas. Okay, so this is a really weird example, but there was back when Echo Fox had an academy team in League of Legends, and it was just a bunch of streamers who used to be pro players. Everybody was like, "Oh, it's a stream team, it's a meme team." It's like Mythic almost, right? Like that's pretty cool. We can get behind this. They can play an academy or whatever. And then the spokesperson for Echo Fox was like, "No, this team is here to win." And that's the, like, they bombed out, of course, they fucking sucked. But that was the idea that I got from Dignitas. They were like, no, we really believe we can win when we have fucking, like Get Right and Forest and, basically the old NIP lineup plus Halzerk instead of Fiflaran, who was coaching instead. Like, okay, those are reputable names, but how do we have any guarantee that you're going to actually win? Like, and that's what they kind of alluded to, if not outright stated, when the team was first assembled ahead of Flashpoint 1. It's like, this team is here to win and here to make, find success. And I don't see a world where that could happen, particularly with online focused CS. So
I agree. I feel like, but they have to say that, right? But that's the thing. Like, you could spin it from a marketing standpoint. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. You can spin it like one last ride. It's for the fans, whatever. You're getting it out of it. These guys continue to play CS. They're still going to be invited to still manage to maintain that fan base. It just makes more sense. It's not like they got to be top 5. I'm like, will they? Will they though? Really? I respect these players, but it's a different time altogether. It's been fucking 7-8 years since the first major and whatnot. So yeah, it is what it is.
I think teams getting younger is really. Every team that's got younger, I feel like, has got better. You've got NIP, MIBR, bring in the fresh new blood instead of holding on to the old guys seems to be the clear play.
Yeah, you can't take that too far, obviously, because if you have no veterans, then you're kind of fucked a different way. But at least you've got the talent that you can develop. Whereas we don't, at some point, you stop seeing that upward trajectory of the older talent. And that obviously will bite people in the ass, I think. I got a bit of an oddball final one here for you before we move on to the Reddit moments. Junior may be going to FURIA? What is going on here?
Is that official yet, or is that just rumored? Because I've seen buyout numbers.
It's from a draft5.gg, which is it's got Portuguese in terms of the original article. And I don't know to what extent it's legit, but
I don't think this makes any sense purely from one simple thing. The comms.
Yeah.
Right? Why would you completely switch up something which is working fantastic for you, forcing 4 players to... I'm sure they can all speak English. They can speak pretty fucking good English, but it's a different thing from in-game, in-game comms and, and switching up the language is a whole different ballgame altogether, as we all know. And picking up Junior, well, again, nothing against the guy. I think he's a fantastic up-and-coming player. I think he has a lot of a future ahead of him. Maybe not in this team. And why wouldn't you, if you want to pick up a player, why not from Brazil? There are a fuck ton of players out there who would fucking, chop a toe off just to get a chance to play with FURIA.
They'd fight a bunch of 8-year-olds. Yeah, they would do anything.
Oh yeah, just pick up someone from, one of those cafes to have over there, one of those freaks of nature who's just going to come in and go, oh my god, this is the next coming of fucking Fallen and Coldzera. And just fucking do it, right? You have the system, you have everything in place. Why do you want to jeopardize the entire language barrier?
For some reason, I got the idea that Junior speaks Portuguese. Maybe I'm just fucking smoking crack.
I looked it up. I looked at his face. I saw his name. I'm like, I don't see any Portuguese there whatsoever. Okay, if he speaks Portuguese,
then it makes sense. Yeah,
that would make sense. I'm okay with that. But if he doesn't, then it is.
Then what's going on? Yeah,
it's I don't know what else.
He's got one of those names. He's got one of those white people names.
Listen, I didn't say it. I didn't say it.
No, I mean just honestly, man, right? Spelling John's James with a Y, like these Peyton, Paytyn.
Johnson as well. Like this guy, like he's got. It's almost like
Kevin.
Patton or something, you know. But Johnson, last name, like this dude's walking into World War II with an American eagle on his shoulder or something. Like, get him the fuck out.
Like I saw someone's name, like, "Hey, my name is James," spelled with a Y after the A. Like, get the fuck out, dude. Like, no, it's not his fault. It's his parents' fault. Like, get me out of here, dude. Like, why? Why does everyone's name have to be fucking special, man? Like, just get me out, man. Just get me out.
So probably not Portuguese then, but we'll see what happens. All right. So as we move on to the closing segment of the show, obviously we got some Reddit moments for you. So I've only got 2 linked down here. One of them I definitely want to talk a little bit more at length about. So we'll start off with the one that will probably be a bit shorter, which is, of course, Tarik tweeting out something seemingly innocuous and getting absolutely fucking reamed on Reddit. And this is where he said, I'll read it out, leaving in a few days to embark on a 53-day journey to Europe for events. Really looks like it's going to be an insane travel year for non-European teams. Hope things will improve moving forward, but I'm not too optimistic at the moment. Let's make the best of it. With 2 exclamation marks, so you know he's talking shit. You know he's meaning business here. So,
look, we all remember the 10 a.m. tweet, right? And all of us could kind of see like, don't really, come on, that's a little annoying to read, right? It's I get it. I get how teams are used to like playing the evening and everything, but as a professional, you shut up and do it. It's a call time. Everyone does it. And, all of us having dealt with events and whatnot, we know what time production wakes up and have to fucking deal with it. We know when talent to show up, right? And then you have the players coming in. I love when certain players come to do like talent work and they're like, holy shit, this is fucking tiring. You're there the entire fucking day watching all these games. We'll just come in and play a best of 3 and we're getting the fuck out of here, right? So that I could be critical about. This is completely innocuous. This is like just a normal fucking tweet. But Reddit being Reddit and considering they know exactly how a professional player's life works, obviously have to, give their 2 cents. They obviously have to be toxic little cunts about it. And I went through some of those fucking comments. Most of them deleted or like downvoted. Thankfully, they got downvoted. But Jesus fucking Christ, right? Like, and this is such a harmless tweet. Of course he's going to be traveling. Man, it's tiring to fucking travel, dude. It's hard to focus, man. You have to deal with all that shit. These are human beings trying to play the best level they can. And I know how I feel when I have to travel and I have to be ready for a fucking long day of like games. And I'm not even like having that much stress as these players would. So it's fuck's sake, shut the fuck up. Stop, like delete your account. Throw away your keyboard. Just be a fucking lurker, right? Just lurk. Don't use your fingers. Just scroll with your nose or something. Stop typing. Fuck.
I feel like I've said this before. This is very similar to like the tweets that people are making, like looking back at their 2020, and you get someone that's like, I had a pretty good year, like everything went well for me this year, and the instant response is, how dare you? Like, other people have had a terrible year. How fucking dare you have had a decent year? That's what this one felt like. It's like, how dare you complain about being away from home all year? Don't you know you make shit tons of money? Let me tell you something, okay? People that are like, listen, this isn't to say like, woe is me if you make money, but once you make enough money that like your needs are met and like you're in a pretty comfortable spot, the money stops really mattering. If you're not like thinking about money, like I'm not, if you're making 20K or 50K, I mean, maybe it matters for the rest of your life. Maybe it helps out in the future, but like that doesn't change the way your life is going. You still get into this spot where it's like, my life is what I'm living. It's not the money, it's what I'm living. And I'm living this life where I'm fucking traveling to a hotel to play CS for 53 days straight without my friends, without my family. Like, you're not thinking about, oh, but I've got 50K this month. Like, it's all good. Like, humans just adapt to their situation. Yes. You got the money, you're still gonna feel shit because you're living a just kind of shitty fucking life. And of course, it would be worse if you had no money. when you have no money, a lot of your problems are immediately solved by having money because you've got all these extra problems. But this still, like, you still have life problems. Like, where are you going to be in 5 years? How is this furthering you as a person? Are you ever going to have a fucking family? Like, are you ever going to do anything other than play CS? These are all things that CS players are going to be thinking about when they're on the road for fucking 53 days straight. And like, to not have the empathy to understand that everyone's living life and just trying to get through it as well as they can, fucked up. It's fucked up. It's fucked up. That's all.
And you gotta also like just marvel at the gall of some of these guys are like, well, like, fuck, if I was like in his shoes, I'd be shutting my fucking mouth. I'm like, listen, you're not in his fucking shoes though, are you?
Yeah.
You're not good enough. You didn't grind it out. You didn't play nonstop, grinding through all the ladders and everything to be picked up, to show what you've got to get to where these guys have. None of them got handed a fucking, a free slot in any of these teams. None of these top teams. They fucking showed how good they were.
That's extra stress too, yeah.
That's the most stress. And some of them were genuinely gifted, which you're not, clearly. So sit the fuck down. Or some of them genuinely put in, like, they put their lives on hold. They gave up on so many fucking things in their lives to be where they are right now. So no, you can't say if I was in the shoes, because you will never be in the shoes, because you never did what they did. You're not who they are. So sit down.
I don't even think it's about like, like, are you talented? Can you get there? It's like, you don't know what you're saying. Like, it's almost like one of these things where people don't know what they want, where it's like, yeah, it would be nice to be there instead of working the same job for less money. Like, I saw someone say, I'm traveling all year, every year for 30K a year. Like, that fucking sucks extra bad, right? But if you're in that job, it's going to be 2 weeks before that is like, oh, this is just my life. Like, now I've done it for a month or 2 months or whatever. Now this is just my life. And you normalize everything good and you start seeing all the fucking bad shit. And you would be in the same spot where you'd be like, wow, fuck, I really do have to travel for 60 days. Yes. Everyone is going to fucking be there. You're going to get there once you've been there for a couple months. It might be new and exciting for someone that's never done it before, but the reality is, like, nobody fucking likes it.
Speaking of things nobody fucking likes, let's talk about Valve. I got a question for you guys. Did CSGO feel like it was a labor of love in 2020?
I think there was there was a tweet, like the one with Obama, like putting
a medal on himself. Yeah. I forget who had that.
That's pretty much it. Look,
might have been Don Hossie or something like that, but yeah.
I love CSGO. I love Counter-Strike. I hate. I'm one of those guys who I hate, and at the same time I'm conflicted, because I also love that Valve doesn't get too hands-on.
Yes.
With our game, you know what I mean, right? I do not enjoy the way other esports title is so dependent on the publisher coming in and making changes to revitalize the game or whatever, or to mix things up. I think CSGO works because it is fucking Counter-Strike. It's been for 20 fucking years. It's a perfect formula. A few tweaks here and there. It's great. Is it a labor of love? Yes and no. Yes, because the last update they came up with, pretty good stuff. I won't lie. It was good. It's some good operations, some big updates here and there. From a development standpoint, I wish they were more communicative, obviously. And again, this is not just about, I'm not talking just about the updates coming in, right? The updates are still, they did a very good job, by the way, the small little updates they've been putting in, with no big, fridge opening updates. Mostly been the small little ones. They've done a very good job with that. But outside of the coding side of things, outside of the game updates, Valve needs to really pull their fucking pants. Like, jump in with all this e-sig shit happening. Stop, like, in your Twitter account. Look, everyone likes memes. I fucking love memes. But Jesus fucking Christ, tweet about some topical important things that's happening when the entire scene seems to be burning down or whatever, instead of just fucking replying to Neymar or whoever the next, whoever big mainstream celebrities tweeting about Counter-Strike, right? Like, be a little bit more involved there. We don't want you to be like how Riot is with some of their games, or how you are with Dota. No need. We don't want international. We don't want that level of, coming in, but step in once in a while, right? Because the esports scene is a very crucial aspect of what Counter-Strike is. So it's a labor of love, I won't lie, but it's also a little bit of absent father-ish behavior. So I don't know. I'm kind of like 50-50 here.
I mean, it really depends what your definition of labor of love is, because you would think like Dota or something might really fit that bill a little bit more when you get more regular attention. And do we want more regular attention? Probably not, right? Like I think you're right. We don't need more regular attention, but that should kind of put you out of the rut. Like if you have an animated film, you can't win best non-animated film. Like it's just kind of disqualifies you from the running, which like I would think it kind of does to some extent. It's really one of those things, like it almost feels like I've watched a couple of videos on like how Valve runs and like how like I don't know, some of this might just be bullshit, but like basically people like working on Dota because they know Gaben likes Dota and they want to be like in his good graces.
I've heard that. I've heard that.
Literally. So literally what this feels like is, oh, the good little boy is still working on CS, even though it's a dead game and nobody wants to work on that. Like that, it literally feels like the community of CS hates any level of input, like any changes they hate, right? Like we all hate any change. That's just how CS is, right? So it's almost like they're like, okay, the community hates every change, and you actually worked on the game. Like you guys are fucking such little good boys. Like
I did. Who was it? I think it was like an old Valve employee. He tweeted out recently about the work culture and
Yes.
Valve. Yeah,
But
he
I don't know
did
how to
say,
his
I
last
guess,
name, but yeah, I follow him on Twitter.
Yeah.
He's got a lot of good takes about like working within there.
I like those because most people don't, right? Don't
Yes.
really hear about the Valve work culture. It's pretty insightful. Obviously, you have to take it with a grain of salt, obviously.
Sure.
But he did mention when he left, like a few years ago, 2015, 16, thereabouts, the CSGO team was the best team. Like they were the most chilled out, nicest guys. So deep down inside, I feel a little happy. I'm like, oh, well, CSGO devs are nice. Sure, they disappear for like a year. Sure, they don't talk to us. But once in a while, around Christmas time, they come with their presents, reminding us that Santa is real.
they've literally set us up so fucking hard, though. It's like to the point where people unironically are like, think about all that happened in 2020. They nerfed the Krieg, and it's like, hold up, no, that's a negative. That's a negative. The fact that we got to 2020 before they nerfed the fucking Krieg is not a positive that you can add on to their resume. Okay, it's like this should have been done in 2019, and like that's the level. Valve has got us to expect such fucking nothing.
Actually genius.
It is. It's like, and we just like, oh, another cookie, sir. like another scrap.
Is there like a term for that? Like, is it called like?
The bigotry of low expectations might be what you're saying.
No, like you do that, right? Like you do that to like scumbags or the women. Like they keep bringing. I forgot.
Stockholm syndrome. Yeah.
No, not Stockholm.
Battered
like
wife
you just
syndrome.
like keep. Yes, you basically just making them feel terrible.
You put down the one that was like completely legitimate, like completely reasonable, and then I just
this is the one where they're like you bring someone down to a level that they just take any little crumb. You get me? And some people use that like we're trying to like get women to like while they're dating and stuff like that, which is complete scumbag.
They put themselves down, or put them down, and no, make them believe that they deserve less, and the CS community
gaslighting, right?
Okay,
gaslighting. There we go. They've been gaslit. I do like the battered wife syndrome. That's it goes with a vibe of the show.
It does, yes.
I really think people giving props for the Krieg being nerfed in 2020 is like, oh my god, like look at all that happened. The Krieg got nerfed in 2020. Like we got so many changes. It's like, buddy, this is a prime example of how fucking little Valve seems to give a fuck. Like the fact that it got to 2020 with the Krieg still like that is a joke, man.
It's not like 2019 didn't have enough tournaments to figure it out either. Like for a company that likes data as much as Valve does, like surely they had enough to make a decision. I don't know, man. Did they have to wait for it to get OP in matchmaking too? Is that what happened? No.
That's exactly what they did. People don't understand this, man. If you think a change should happen, give it 3 months, and then Valve will consider doing it, because like they don't give a fuck what you think. They're just there for the data, man. They're just there. It's all about the data. And once the data shows that it's a problem, they will change it. Until it shows that, they won't.
They have said it so many times, and that's I think the one thing people don't get, right? Sure, the Krieg was adopted en masse by everyone, right, in the pro scene. But here's the thing, they're pros. The average pleb are still shit. And they're like, oh, I'm used to the AK and M4. I'm not going to swap to the Krieg. And bear in mind, a lot of them do not watch pro Counter-Strike. Let's be real. The majority of people who play Counter-Strike do not know anything about esports, right? So they're not going to switch suddenly to the Krieg. It's kind of like trickle-down effect. So I think it got to a point, like we mentioned, where they're like, okay, we're now seeing the change happening in the, in the casual matchmaking scene as well, which is why we'll nerf it, which is a dumb fucking way of looking at things. Matchmaking is fucking different from professional Counter-Strike.
Well, I mean,
hey,
even if you look at it like just the professional tournaments, I think it's the last major we had was the first major where the Krieg got more kills than the AK. Like, everyone knew the Krieg was fucking bullshit, right? But it still took like 6 months or something for it to get more kills than an AK. And at that point, I was like, all right, it's probably going to get nerfed pretty soon if it's got more kills. Like, I think they might even prioritize looking at majors more so than looking at normal tournaments. And they might also be just looking at it different than the way we're thinking about it. Like, when we see the Krieg near as many kills as the AK, we're like, what the fuck? This is bullshit, right? But they might be waiting for it to be more kills or drastically more kills than the AK,
Yes.
you know?
Yeah, that's a fair point as well. Like, they're probably trying that same thing that Thorin was banging on about in like 2015. We made this video about Valve's watered down weapon balance, and he was talking about how they try to see the game as if every weapon should be viable, depending on the, instead of it being situational.
The
or
negev,
per map.
dude, is
Yeah,
pretty good.
I'm still waiting for the negev to actually get
Negev.
adopted. That's the thing, though. Like, let's really talk about it.
It's good, man. It's good. I'm telling you, dog.
Like
it's good.
dualies,
Like,
right?
well, apparently everyone thought it was still banned. And then, like, the day after, they realized it wasn't banned. I don't know if you guys saw the tweets about
I
it.
saw it too. I saw the tweet. Yeah.
It's actually a good, like, okay. I think you can use it on force buys because on a second round force buy, you can get like a negev body armor. It's $23.50 for negev and body armor.
It is ridiculously cheap. Let's be real.
And it's like I think it's a
is.
one-shot headshot from close range. And even if it's not, the second bullet comes out before anyone's first fucking bullet. And it's deceptively good at range. Like, you can actually, like, from sandbags on Inferno to like someone peeking half wall, you're hitting them in the head most of the time that you take your first shot. Like, it's a pretty.
We just need like one of those like a JWS player to like just main it. And everyone's like, huh.
Like the XM gaining popularity, similar sort
Yeah,
of tale.
there we go.
Yeah.
Or like, Magisk with the, was it Magisk with the Krieg? It was Magisk with the Krieg.
And
yeah.
Elige as well. Yeah, there are a couple
in
players
every
that
Brazilian team, every Brazilian
And a
team
full
adopted the
Brazilian
Krieg
team's
a long
coming in,
time.
yeah. Oh,
We'll see
Good
what
times.
happens. We'll see what happens in 2021. That's my prediction. Is we probably will see the negev. Actually, I'll go out on the line and say by the end of the year we'll be talking about the best negev player in ELO Heavens.
I don't think we're going to be
awards.
talking about the best negev player, but
Yeah, sure,
we might
why
be
not?
talking about the negev player.
The negev. Yeah, it'd still be the best by default. So
I do wonder, like, we did see a lot of drama in 2020, right? Like
Okay.
crazy fucking
Yeah.
drama. So I wonder, is it going to be more or lesser this year? I'm going to go out on a limb and say it's going to get even wilder this year, if you ask me.
more
Just got a
people coming
feeling.
into the game, more people paying attention. The numbers are growing. That means more drama could happen. More people to feed off of that drama.
Drama's
Positive
always good,
feedback.
baby.
Yeah.
There we go.
There you go. What do you think, Vu? Any parting gift here at the end of the episode? Do you have any bold prediction for 2021?
Fuck, I don't know, man.
You already gave us
I
some
mean,
last episode.
I said last time, I think if Astralis' contracts are up in 2021, I think they might not re-sign as a team. They might not re-sign. I don't know when their contracts are up though. I think that's a pretty bold prediction. I feel like if all 5 players get out of their contracts at the same time, I don't see them re-signing.
I can't wait for like Thorin to like push out a video 5 minutes later with the announcement.
Yes.
It's like, all right, motherfuckers, remember when I fucking tweeted about this shit and y'all said like talk shit? Fuck you, plebs.
Yeah.
No. What's gonna happen is that like if they don't re-sign, if this wasn't to happen, Nicholas Nyholm will say something about it, like try and spin it like in a good way. We're bringing up like we're fostering talent. We're bringing someone in. We're finally bringing in Bubsky. Like he's a real player now. And then Thorin will make a tweet calling him fucking Lyholm again.
Yes,
that's how
that
it's all
pretty
gonna
incredible.
start out. That's how it'll start if Astralis doesn't re-sign their roster.
Yeah, Thorin's tweet
That
where he
was-
said even his name has a lie in it. That was a close, like, oh man, that might have been not top 1 tweet, but it was edged out just barely by Thorin's tweet where he said he's like, bruh, German food is so bad you call it the worst. And started like fake laughing as the video ended. Like that fucking killed me. I couldn't handle that one. So that was my top tweet.
Seen that
Of
video. What the fuck is that?
Yeah,
Dude, like Duncan, some of his shit makes me want to like have whatever he's having. Honestly, like it's like
you got the hookup from
what
Anders.
even-
That's the thing. Is
what even are you? Yeah. Probably need to just slide into his DMs like Andrews, give me some of that fucking skybox shit that he's snorting all the time because I
Skybox
need that.
branded.
I want to get into my skybox,
Yeah.
right?
Anders make me believe the election will be overturned. Here you go. I got just the thing for you.
there you go.
I'm gonna FedEx it straight to India. Let's fucking go.
Maybe that's the bold prediction for 2021 is overturned elections. But we probably
No,
shouldn't get into
please. I bet money on the election. Like I've already spent my winnings. Like I sold this guy bet an op, and I sold it already. So
shit.
it has stickers on it, man. I can't get it back. I can't get it back. It's over.
Well, there you go. That's how we know things are going to work out because Vu will keep his winnings, and that guy's never getting his op back, no matter what happens. So there you go. That's ELO Heaven for you. Thanks, Bleh, for joining us. If you got any final shout outs, let's hear them.
Nothing. Thanks for having me. This is like my first foray back into Counter Strikes for the new year. In the past like 15 days, just trying to detox from Counter Strike for a bit, playing some single player games. Played a bit of Cyberpunk. It's a great game on a PC. If you have a PC, I guess I liked it. But yeah, thanks for having me on. It was fun. A lot of laughter, a lot of banter. Good stuff. Not too serious. So a good appetizer for me to like kick off 2021 with Counter Strike. So yeah, thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Vu, got any final words, or are we out of here?
Ridge.com/CSGO.
There you go. Perfect for any 8-year-old beating sessions you have to go on.
Like, imagine coming in like missing the first 5 minutes of this podcast. Listen for 2 hours and how many? Like 2 hours, and like 15 minutes, and you're like helpful for beating 8-year-old children.
This thing could do some damage, man. It is solid, man. This is solid, and you can get a titanium one. And it's really hard metal. It's only like $200. Fucking ridiculous. It's so expensive. It's a fucking joke, man.
Yeah, true. No kid will ever have that. You'll be safe. There you go. All right, boys, we're out of here before our careers get destroyed. We'll be back.
Oh yeah.
We'll probably be back next week.